going on, y'all? Welcome back to another incredible installment of the Arcane Archive presents MetaTalks. It's your boy, Adam, and your man,
Sam.
And we are back today with another incredible topic. What are we talking about today, Sammy?
Well, we're gonna keep in theme for the last thing we filmed. We're gonna do dragons today.
Dragons! Oh yeah, baby. No, you've been waiting for it.
No, yeah, just touching on stat blocks, looking at different types, kind of from low CR monsters all the way up to the campaign enders.
Which is a lot of them. Like, it's gonna get, by the end of this, we're gonna be getting up to pretty crazy levels of power and might. Because dragons, as you know, you might assume if you know anything about them, they can get pretty crazily powerful. They're pretty insane, even at lower levels, but especially at those, as Sammy just said, those campaign ending levels. They get so cool. Dragons, they're just great.
They're kind of, a lot of them are kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. But with that being said, why don't we go ahead and let's not keep the people waiting any longer. Let's jump right on in. To start us off, we figured we'll kind of go down the line a bit here. We filtered out some of the because obviously, as everyone knows, especially with the introduction of fizz bans, the draconic portfolio has expanded quite a bit recently. So we're primarily, at least at the top, we're gonna kind of keep to the main primary / true dragons. Some of those, technically speaking, might not be considered true dragons, but I think for the purposes of what we're trying to kind of talk about and convey, we're going to include them. And then maybe towards the end, depending on our time, we might end up throwing in some fun, honorable little mentions in here that we like. But to start us off specifically, we're going to begin with the Wyrmlings of the dragons, of the true dragons that you will most likely encounter or could encounter and find in your campaigns. The dragons that, your GMs will love to freaking be able to run. And to start us off, we're going to go with one of the 3 strongest Wyrmlings among all of the so-called true dragons. That's going to be the Amethyst Dragon, coming in at a CR 4. The Amethyst Dragon Wyrmling. It has an armor class of 17 natural, 75 hit points on average, speed of 30 feet walking, fly speed of 60. They can hover specifically, which is, again, a really cool aspect of all gym dragons, is their psionic bonuses and abilities, which allows them, unlike a lot of their other draconic cousins, to hover and do some other really cool stuff. And they also have a swim speed of 30 feet. So even just right there, the initial stat block and everything, the fact that it gets 3 different movement types is already pretty awesome and dope, especially at such pretty high levels. This is a CR4 Wyrmling, one of only 3 that can get here. These are the youngest that dragons can be after hatching. This is starting out in the first, 1 to 5 years or something like
1
that.
to 5 years.
And already this guy is beefy and bulky as shit. You know what I mean? Their strength's 19, dex is 10, con is 17, intelligence 16, wisdom 13, and charisma 17. Oh my goodness, just those stats. Bulky that if that in and of itself doesn't automatically convey the strength of dragons, just baseline, at their weakest point in life, and then what that can propose as they get older, I don't know what does. That's just ridiculous. They get proficiencies in dex, con, wisdom, and charisma for their saving throws, 4, which is amazing. They get skills in Arcana, Perception, Persuasion, and Stealth. So pretty good if you want to trying to run a more this particular dragon. I think a lot of the gym dragons are usually much more stealthy or even social in certain aspects, especially obviously with the psionic capabilities that they offer. They are damage resistance to both force and psychic, because Amethyst dragons are specifically force is their element that they embody. So they gain resistance to both that, and obviously as a gym dragon, all the gym dragons just have psychic resistance. They also have condition immunities to both frightened and prone, as well as a blind sight to 10 feet, dark vision to 120, as well as telepathy to 120 feet, and they speak in Draconic. They are also amphibious, and they can breathe both air and water. They are quite badass. And another thing to recall about gym dragons is they, and while you can technically do this with any dragon, you probably just have to homebrew it a bit. Gym dragons specifically come already neatly packaged in their stat block spell casting, specifically psionic spell casting. Now, at this particular age, the Amethyst Dragon is only able to cast once per day, Protection from Evil and Good, Tinter's Floating Disc, and Unseen Servant. So none of those are like, particularly offensive or deadly or whatever. But again, really nice. It really does add to that kind of cool flavor and stuff. If you're maybe wanting to like have a Wyrmling, maybe kind of like grow up or whatever throughout your campaign. Overall, though, that's the cool thing about gym dragons that can kind of, even though I believe they are canonically probably the weakest of the three like subgroups of true dragons, at least in terms of just baseline stats, they make up for it with the fact that, again, they have some pretty powerful psionic like magic and abilities just already built in that they come with naturally, which kind of gives them a slight more edge to stay within the running against the other metallic and chromatic cousins, who again, their baseline stats are usually a bit better than theirs. Specifically for the Amethyst Dragon, again, because its primary element is force, it gets what is known as Singularity Breath. The dragon creates a shining bead of gravitational force in its mouth, then releases the energy in a 15-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 13 strength saving throw, which again, you do not have a lot of things that require you to make strength saves, especially things that do like a lot of damage in this case. And on a failed save, the creature takes 22 points of force damage, and its speed becomes, or rather 5d8 force damage, and its speed becomes 0 until the start of the dragon's next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage, and its speed isn't reduced. So, once again, you kind of have to understand this is a challenge rating 4 creature. So, the level of your party fighting this thing would probably still be around like anywhere between technically like level 1 to like maybe level 3 at the highest. Is like, this would be like a boss creature or boss monster for a party of level 1 to like level 3s.
I mean, you throw this at a party of level 1, so you're asking to kill multiple characters, but
oh yeah, no, for sure. Again, so the fact it's Singularity Breath alone will one-shot most all, if not all,
so maybe not level 1.
That's what I'm saying. Between level 1 to level 3s, obviously in that range, of course, you just have to be a bit careful, of course, depending. But that in essence is the Amethyst Dragon Wyrmling stat block. And again, we might not be going through every single different stat block of all the different dragons because a lot of them are kind of exactly the same. But we'll kind of just be going through and like showcasing some of the more like flavor or specific aspects of those dragons, since as we also get stronger and more higher up in their age, they do begin to diversify a lot in terms of like their personal abilities and some things that they can do. But Sammy, if you'd like to go ahead and take the next one.
What were you I mean, so do you want something comparable or do you want like a young?
Yeah, you know what? We can go through all of the strongest, the CR4 ones first, and then we can kind of check some of the other ones out.
Kind of similar to the Amethyst Dragon. I mean, the two of the same CR of dragon kind to a degree. You look at like the Red Dragon Wyrmling, classic, simple. It's ostensibly
of the younger ones.
It's ostensibly the same thing as the Amethyst Dragon Wyrmling. Same average health. You get like a lot of the same, like they have the same fly speed. Instead of a swim speed, they have a climb speed. I believe it's same armor class, about the same
class, 17.
Same 15-foot cone of instead fire breath. It does about the same damage. It's
a little bit more, which
2 points more on average, so to speak. The only real difference is the stat line. It's 19 strength, 10 dex, 17 con, 2 intelligence,
12
11
intelligence.
wisdom. Huh? Yeah, sorry, 12 intelligence, my bad. 11 wisdom and 15 charisma. So you look at kind of the comparisons there, which is the gem dragons tend to have more intellectual stats than just physical stats, whereas a lot of, like, say, the chromatic dragons are just
They're
aside
very
from,
much
like,
about that
the
literally
raw
raw
physical
power.
prowess.
Yeah, they are much more about that.
But
It also obviously gets a little less dark vision.
it has
Doesn't get
less skills and saving
yeah.
throws. You look at it this way: as the newer dragons, they tacked on more extra things, which makes sense because they're kind of a different creature with the innate psionics. The fact that their flying works different. Their personalities are also different. Like, you have the three different kind of personality types of dragons, but Wyrmlings kind of, they're the beginning of dragon kind.
Yeah, just
So
starting off on their long journey, and by the end of it, again, as we said, they get really ridiculous and bonkers, and we're gonna get there eventually ourselves. But yeah, red dragon wyrmling, interestingly enough, at the beginning, would probably be considered, like, along with, I guess, the amethyst dragon at this point too, the strongest at this particular age. Like, not really anything else. Obviously the others could compete, like a gold dragon could compete, like a solar dragon or a sapphire is kind of up there, as well as a blue, they're kind of all up there in certain ways, but obviously definitively red dragons, amethyst dragons, and then finally, actually, interestingly enough, the dragon turtle wyrmling is also on par with them in terms of CR, but in fact has slightly higher base stats. Of their armor class is one higher. It's 18 instead of 17, and they get 90 hit points straight up, which is, yeah, that's an extra 15 right there for you. To be fair, of course, again, though, they do not have any inherent breath weapon at this particular level, or at this age. They do begin, although they do have steam breath. I take it back. They do have steam breath.
They just can't fly.
Yeah, they can't fly, and their swim speed is also, like, pretty just normal. It doesn't really have much else kind of going on for it. It does have dark vision to 120 feet. Doesn't have blind sight, but it does have the same dark vision as the amethyst dragon. It can speak Draconic, and obviously it can breathe air and water. So right there, obviously, like, it's interesting. As you would expect, as a dragon turtle, its AC is pretty high, especially at this young age, higher than the rest, as well as its hit points are a bit beefier, since it is, it is a huge, massive slab of just meat and muscle and bone, as well as shell. So you're gonna have a much harder time kind of taking it down than probably any of the other wyrmlings, just based off its vitality alone.
I do want to touch. There is kind of the opposite of these, which is like the wyrmlings for the metallic dragons, like some of the baseline ones. So all the way back, CR1, not very strong, arguably.
Canonically the weakest.
I want to talk about the brass dragon wyrmling,
Yeah.
just as our kind of rounding the wyrmling train. This is it's a whole different ballpark here. Has an armor class of 16, so not as high. It only has, on average, 16 hit points.
That is crazy. That is abysmal compared to the first we just talked about.
But these, I'm going to touch on. These are, I think, intended to be used differently.
Oh, 100%.
They are chaotic good as opposed to evil or neutral. They have a speed of 30, a burrow speed of 15 feet, and a fly of 60. Their stat line is middling to fine. Strength 15, Dex 10, Con 13, Intelligence 10, Wisdom 11, Charisma 13. Proficiency in Dex, Con, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. Skills in Perception and Stealth. They're immune to fire. They have 10 foot of blind sight, 60 feet of dark vision, and they speak Draconic. The kind of the difference here is that they have multiple breath weapons. So one is fire breath, in a 20-foot line, DC 11 Dex save. It's 14 or 4d6 fire damage. Not great, but keep in mind these are supposed to be weaker. They also have sleep breath. So sleep gas in a 15-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 11 con save or fall unconscious for 1 minute. The effect ends for a creature if the creature takes damage or someone uses an action to wake it, just like the sleep spell. Um, the kind of difference between the dragons before and a lot of the younger metallic dragons is that they're actively sociable creatures. So for example, like the whole point of young brass dragon, like they want to talk to people. That's the kind of like the idea of a brass dragon. So they're not these like, what's the word am I looking for? They're not supposed to be adversaries per se.
No, well, I mean, at least
You
not
can obviously.
Yeah, well, obviously not in the sense of like, I think you guys are probably going to see a really cool thing. Like one of the reasons also that I love dragons is exactly what Sam is highlighting here, is that they, even among the fact that, you know, a lot of them kind of look and at first glance kind of the same in a lot of ways, even among like their chromatic, metallic, and gem variants, they all have, interestingly enough, even in their own subgroup, very distinct personalities and behaviors.
Mhm.
And obviously Alastor and Elias talked a little bit about that, and we'll be continuing to talk a bit about that and maybe trying to showcase that as best as they can. But we'll also kind of help out and support that as well on this side too a bit by showing, like, you know, like Sam said, with brass dragon wyrmlings, like their whole thing is they love to talk to people.
Yeah,
They
and
love
that goes as they grow up. Obviously,
oh yes,
you know,
and
as
it
a
evolves
wormling,
too.
I mean, they're not going to be running around getting themselves into danger, which is, but like,
So maybe to a certain extent, but they're
yeah,
still like dragons are also, all dragons are usually also paranoid to a certain extent, and obviously they have a very strong sense of self-preservation. So
yeah,
obviously no dragon is going to just blatantly like throw themselves into harm's way if they know that it's like, this, I can't do this. Obviously on the other hand, they're all inherently exceedingly arrogant and egotistical. So it's like they might not recognize that a situation is detrimental or fatal for them.
yeah.
But
I
the
mean,
other one
you can argue,
specifically, oh, go
yeah.
ahead, buddy. Go ahead,
No,
buddy.
sorry. You can argue the egotistical part changes depending on what dragon you're looking at, but I
I feel
think
like
they are.
there's always that sense that's still there. I think again, yeah, it does maybe grow or shift a bit, but they're regardless
I mean, they know they're
of
powerful.
what's the thing, and it's not like they're not. It's not like it's not unfair or untrue, right?
Yeah,
It's not like their ego is unrewarded or unfair for
unwarranted.
them to, yeah, unwarranted. Thank you, that's the word, unwarranted for them to have, because they are just, in terms of just the raw natural, they are the apex predators of the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Very few things could ever hope to contest them, like
yeah.
except for like giants, you know, angels, demons, devils, like, and even then, depend, like not even all of demons, devils, or angels can really contend with them. They're
No,
very specific types, like
you know, you're looking at like weird monstrosities and things that you shouldn't be finding all the time that would be contesting them. So it's a little bit of a different kind of
but
mindset.
yeah. We will also talk about, there's once more, there are three different dragons that all go at CR1 in the wyrmling category, and the second one will also be a metallic. It'll be the copper dragon, another great, hilarious dragon. With, again, you'll find that with the metallics you have so much room for all kinds of fun, great like role play and party interaction potential with these types of dragons. It is a medium size. Also, as a heads up, just all of these wyrmlings are all medium size. Specifically, they start at medium. It is chaotic good in alignment. Same thing as an armor class of 16. However, copper dragons have 22 hit points instead of 16. So brass really are just kind of like some of the bottom barrel, like just super at the start, super vulnerable to a lot of things. It has a 30-foot climb, 30-foot walking, and 60-foot fly. Its stat array is a little bit higher than the brass, but still nothing really to write home about. It also has saving throws in Dex, Con, Wisdom, and Charisma, Perception, and Stealth for its skills, and its immunity is acid, specifically because this copper dragons are acid aligned with their element. Same thing, same blind sight and dark vision. Speaks Draconic. And as I said, its breath weapons will be acid. It can exhale acid in a 20-foot line that is 5 feet wide. The save will be a DC 11 Dex save. You will take essentially 48 acid damage on a fail or half on a success. And different, however, from the brass, its other breath weapon is specifically going to be slowing breath, The dragon exhales gas in a 15-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 11 con save, and on a failed, the creature can't use reactions, its speed is halved, and it can't take more than one attack on its turn. In addition, the creature can use either an action or a bonus action on its turn, but not both. These effects last for 1 minute, and the creature can repeat the save at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself with a success. This is literally a slow spell that this dragon just has at CR1 of all places. And so that right there is like, that is, I mean, like the sleep breath is okay. I feel like it's all right. It can maybe be used in a pinch, but this slow breath, like even at a CR1 like this makes this dragon very difficult. Even if the DC is of course only 11, which,
you mean 1?
No, or the DC, the save is
DC,
11.
sorry.
Yeah, the DC is 11 for the slowing breath. So I mean, it's like it's certainly not by any means like difficult to pass, but if you do end up failing it, like that will shut down a party of even like higher level adventurers too. Like if they somehow inexplicably fail, and obviously as this dragon gets stronger, that DC is just going to go up and up and higher. And so that is also what makes the Copper Dragon, like, even though it's canonically not considered to be one of the stronger dragons overall, it still can contend with a lot of its more powerful and bigger cousins and brothers and sisters with this particular ability. The last one I think we should also mention, which is once more a new addition from Fizzbands. It is the Deep Dragon Wyrmling. Now the deep dragons essentially are like considered dragons from the Underdark specifically. Like they're not necessarily like, at this point I guess they might be considered like true dragons, because again they do get this entry as they have Wyrmling adults and same thing as the others, which is why we're also kind of talking about both them as well as the dragon turtles, the lunar dragons, and the solar dragons, which are all like new inputs specifically from Fizzbands to then finally, I guess, canonically like confirm that they are like considered true dragons or in that same kind of vein. So with deep dragons, they are typically neutral evil normally. They have an armor class of 15, which is the lowest that we've seen so far. They have 27 hit points. They have a walking speed of 30, a burrow speed of 15, a fly speed of 60, and a swim speed of 30. So they are packing with all kinds of terrain that they can get to, just basically everything. They are all terrain dragons. Their stat block is pretty mid and abysmal, like strength being the highest at 14. Everything else is basically like 11, 12, and one more 13. They get the same kind of saving throw proficiencies, as well as for their skills. They get perception, persuasion, and stealth. And they have resistance to both poison and psychic. They have condition immunities of charmed, frightened, and poisoned. And their senses are 10 feet of blind sight, 90 feet of dark vision. And they get what is known as nightmare breath. This dragon exhales a cloud of spores in a 15-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 11 wisdom save, which is interesting. On a failed save, the creature takes 5 psychic damage, and it is frightened of the dragon for 1 minute, specifically 1d10 of psychic damage. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much and with no additional effects. And obviously, a frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns. So, again, clearly this dragon is very interesting flavor-wise. Again, obviously in the Underdark, it clearly is all about like fear and like ominousness. Like even the picture that you can kind of see, if you pull it up, like it looks like strange and like almost like it's from the far realm and very like kind of and evil and creepy, which is really cool. And we'll get more into them as we kind of go up and showcase more of what they can do. Let's see. We should probably just do kind of the mid ones. We might as well also talk about the Gold Dragon Wyrmling once again.
I mean, it's ostensibly the same thing as the others, slightly powerful with a different breath weapon.
Yeah. This one, he gets weakening breath specifically. It exhales a gas 15-foot cone, DC 13 strength save, or they will have disadvantage on strength-based attack rolls, strength checks, and strength saving throws for 1 minute. So this right here, it's not the best secondary breath weapon of all of them, because it really only applies to like your strength-based characters or other creatures, which, to be fair, a lot of usually most monsters utilize strength as their stat for when they attack. So obviously against other like creatures and monsters, this is very deadly. But against obviously like players that utilize dex and don't really use strength at all, this does basically kind of nothing to them. But yeah, overall, I'd say that in essence is the dragon wyrmling category for you guys. They're all, again, pretty comparable to one another in a lot of ways. They're, again, only the strongest and then the weakest are kind of like up. They don't get a lot of special or different types of things at this particular level. But at that point, let us move on to the young generation of dragon.
So let's see here. I'll start us off. One of my favorites, like when you see a lot of young dragons, I like using the black dragon. So
I love a good old black dragon.
Yeah, young black dragons, they go from medium to large, which I mean is, this is kind of when dragons start to become like people in small towns fear them kind of thing.
They're starting their career, you know what I mean?
They're starting their career. They're fresh out of high school looking for a job. They haven't really got their diploma yet either, so they're just trying to figure things out.
They're trying to figure out all this stuff, you know what I mean?
So they're large dragon, chaotic evil, armor class of 18. Their hit points are an average of 127, 40-foot speed, so already faster, 80-foot fly speed, 40-foot swim speed. So as you can see, their movement has already increased significantly.
I mean, all of their stats have shot up exponentially at this point.
So you look at things like, 19 strength, 14 dex, 17 con, 12 intelligence, 11 wisdom, 15 charisma. So their stats as a whole kind of jump up. They still have the same saving throws. It's dex, con, wisdom, and charisma. It's pretty much across the board for most of them. They still have perception and stealth. Makes sense. They're wild animals. Damage immunity to acid this time because that's their specialty. 30-foot blind sight, 120 feet of dark vision. Now they know common, which is something you'll see across, I think, all of the younger dragons.
They begin to learn and get smarter as they evolve and grow, which is a cool aspect.
They're also jumping from like between 1 and 3 CR, usually aside from the ones we discussed, to a 7. So almost doubling or more than doubling challenge rating. They now get multi-attack, so 3 attacks, 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws. You have also now breath. Same basic sense as the breath weapon, but now it's a little bit more dangerous. It's a 30-foot line, 5 feet wide. Each creature in that line must make a DC 14 dex save, taking 11d8 or 49 damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Now, what we looked at before with breath weapons, they were okay. Some of them did like an average of 20. Some did an average of like 11. You're getting into like the 50s and 60s with these dragons. Sometimes even the 70s.
This is 11d8
and
worth.
Keep in mind,
damage.
that's the average. You can roll higher.
That's what I'm saying.
The reality is you have like 2 young dragons, or even 1 young dragon can like destroy a small town.
Absolutely.
And so
they could estimate a village. Like
these are kind of plot hooks for maybe you're like level 5, 6. You have a party, and it's going to be a tough fight. But this is ostensibly kind of when you start having like we have to go kill a dragon, but we're still not level 10, 11,
like
12.
you can still incorporate dragons into your campaign like this. Again, with the young dragon is perfect, because also notice too, they still do not have access to any legendary actions or resistances at this level. So they are still like, even though they are, as we said before, they're probably considered like top of the food chain, even at this young level, like at this particular level, they're still not like legendary status where like, you have a chance of just decimating your party 100%. Like this, dragons are always, and like as they should be,
a danger.
Yeah, a danger at every level, any level that you're throwing your party at, but they're always still cool and manageable and easy enough to just be like, hey, this is a cool, iconic, amazing monster that has a lot of great roleplay potential and flavor potential to throw at your party at any place at any point in your game. That's what makes dragons so fucking cool.
And because they're smart, they're not complete idiots most of the time. Like, these aren't going to be attacking cities. Anything with siege equipment, this dragon's out.
Yeah,
because like most likely, like, look, 127 hit points, nothing to sneeze at compared to maybe what your characters have at that time, or what common guards and stuff like that have. But you have a couple ballistas or something like that. That dragon's not going to be coming near you.
I mean, that's what we said. Like, even dragons are inherently paranoid, right? They might be super arrogant and egotistical, but they're not stupid. Like,
but they're instinctual. Like, they not, know.
Well, not just instinctual, but also intelligent. Like, they're not stupid. They're not going to throw themselves into a situation where they know they will be at a huge disadvantage or even a particular fatal encounter. They will always choose to just decimate an easy area, like establish a territory and dominance there as they build up their strength and power. Like, they are never going to, and even better, if they do get into a situation where they're about to freaking die, they will dip the hell out. Like, most of them are not afraid of doing that. The only ones that might not would be like maybe blues and maybe dragon or maybe reds, because they're too they're too stubborn to leave. Like, dragons, because they're too egotistical and egomaniacal that they can't even bear to believe that they could lose. And then blues, because they feel like they have too much to prove to fall back now. Like, they're like, I can't run away. I have to prove that I'm the best. Like, it would dishonor me too much.
Yeah. I mean, you're also looking at this is the point where if you have any lesser draconic creatures that would follow a dragon, things like kobolds, lizard folk, like, this is when you start having that kind of
they get play. Followers. Yeah,
they're big enough, they're dangerous enough that the ecosystem around them is changing. Yeah. Wyrmlings, you're not going to see that as much, you know.
No, not quite. Like, again, maybe kobolds might revere them a bit, obviously, but then
but when they get to a young dragon, I mean, it's not, it's more like taking care of them. Now it's reverence.
Oh yeah,
it's like, oh, we will do this for you because we want you. We want to see you get strong and stronger and stronger.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
This is like when you get like a young horde where it's like, why are we losing all this stuff? Like, we don't know why these kobolds are coming and taking things. Well, you go in, and at the end of that, there's a dragon in there with a small
horde and putting together a den. And again, keep in mind, everybody, that young dragons at this age, like, what is also interesting is that technically when a dragon reaches their young age range, they're between like 5 to, I think, 100 years old at this point, right? Yeah. Meaning that you could be anywhere between there, right? This dragon, it's young, but it could have and that is exactly why these stat blocks like boosted in power so substantially and intensely from their previous place, right? Like Sam said, their CR either doubled, if not technically went even higher. Like, for instance, the young or the dragon, the gold dragon Wyrmling was a CR3, even one step below the red amethyst and the dragon turtle. It has now shot up to a staggering CR10. Yeah. Catching up to both the red dragon as well as the young dragon turtle. So it's like it was at first slightly below those two, and yet at this point it has vastly increased. And you also kind of notice this as a means of like the metallics as well. Because they're like, I assume because they're kind of aligned with usually like, you know, lawful good or at least good alignment, they start out much weaker. But then as they grow, they get vastly more powerful than a lot of their other draconic cousins. Like, just, and I feel like it's supposed to mean to establish kind of a sense of like, they work hard, right?
Yeah.
Good is hard at first, right? Being good, doing the right thing is difficult at first, but the more that you work at it, the more that you practice at it, the more that you apply it, it gets to become far more powerful than evil, because evil is easy, right? Evil is easy right out the point. Just falling back on your natural, more selfish instincts and desires and all of that is so much easier. And especially in the moment, it feels so much more gratifying. But as you continue on, while it can still feel gratifying, it also is the case that good ends up winning out a lot more, because once you apply that, once you learn that, you get so much more return back overall. Yeah. Which I love about that particular, and that's personally, that might just be my interpretation, but I like that kind of dynamic. I think
that's on point, because you look at these creatures and for like alignment, especially with dragons, is important. You
Yeah.
look at specifically, at least for chromatic and metallic, there is a god of sorts that sits behind them as like a, you know, a progenital father or mother figure for these beings. You know, like chromatic dragons have Tiamat, metallic dragons have Bahamut, which is like this: you are like me, you are from me, this is how I feel, you're gonna feel like that. These are my different kind of instincts of my personality.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, these creatures have that instilled in them from existence. So you look, I mean, and obviously you can do whatever you want in your game.
There's
You
an
can tweak
exception
it,
to every rule. There's
you
an
know,
exception to every rule. Nothing's 100%.
you know, for example, and this is because I'm playing in the Tyranny of Dragons ish campaign. We have a black dragon that we hatched. We found the egg. We didn't destroy the head. Like, we found it. We hatched it. It
That's
became
awesome.
a friend.
Yeah, I love that.
My barbarian bard taught it, like the character in the campaign. He taught it Dwarvish, so he could speak to it in a language that nobody else understood. And like, it was this whole thing of like, when the campaign itself was like, hey, there's this artifact that's making dragons go, you know, chaotic, like evil, ostensibly, like affecting all the chromatic dragons to make them more aggressive. We had to move him from the continent because otherwise we wouldn't be able to interact with him anymore. And it was one of those things of like, he was confused. You know, it does not, everything has to go by the book, but
no, again, it's
left to baser instincts, left to be by themselves in their own place, these dragons are typically going to be either good, neutral, or very evil.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna
depending
say,
on which one.
I was like, you know, any creature and anything has the potential to be influenced, obviously, by its surroundings. Like, it's the whole, you know, argument versus nature versus nurture, right?
Yeah.
I, for one, am of the belief that they are both applicable. Yeah. There absolutely is a certain amount of nature to everyone and everything, be it humans, dragons, elves, dwarves, whatever, right? Orcs, whatever. But there's also something to be said about nurture. You will absolutely be influenced a ton, especially at a young age, by your surroundings and the people around and everything going on in your surroundings. That absolutely has a very powerful and profound effect on your development and growth and who you kind of begin to become and turn into. And so, just like I think a lot of people have always been arguing and saying, like, and while I know some other people like vehemently disagree and reject this, no, one whole species or race is never going to be just always intrinsically evil, right? Yeah. We talked about that, I believe, like in a previous episode, like, you know, with the drow, with orcs, with whatever. Like, just because a lot of their culture has to do with a lot of more heinous, kind of despicable or evil things now, that doesn't mean that every single one of them they're inherently evil. Yes, they are like that because they have been kind of bred as well as, you know, indoctrinated into doing, and especially because they're, at least in regards to the drow, their goddess is literally watching them and instilling this in them all the time.
Yeah, and you know, actively ostracized for not following in that.
Not just ostracizes, but tortures, punishes, makes clear, horrible examples out of those who could possibly think differently, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with like evil dragons, right? A lot of them, yes, a lot of them do have a lot of inherently evil tendencies in nature. But I mean, humans are exactly the same too. Humans have plenty of horrible, horrendous, like, desires and intrusive thoughts and compulsions and everything. Yeah. And it is, again, the point of, I think what makes a person or even a creature considered good is not because you are just inherently good or you're able to easily do it. I think what truly makes a person good is you have these bad, intrusive, horrible thoughts, but you still do your best to do the right thing anyway.
Yeah.
It's not about not having those things. It's about choosing to do the right thing despite having and feeling these more negative or darker things.
Which is kind of why, I mean, you look at like the metallic dragons as an example, or even the gem dragons, because they're supposed to be neutral.
They're neutral. Yeah, they're usually neutral.
The fact that these things are so powerful yet still choose to not outright massacre things and take whatever they want is telling to why they are the way they are. That's kind of like, and you can play them as chaotic neutral. You can play them as like, you know what?
Because I was gonna say,
I don't want that to be there.
Yeah,
this town is too close. I could ask them to leave, or I can just burn it down.
Yeah, you know, because I was gonna say, like, on the other side, for metallic dragon, even though they're considered to be good, they still exhibit a lot of the more like some might consider to be negative aspects or personality traits of like their chromatic cousins, where
they
are still arrogant. They are still like, they don't, not all of them, not all the metallic dragons, even like the most powerful, like the gold, for instance, despite the fact that it usually is much more intrinsically like good and wants to do good, what it can consider to be good might not necessarily be what everybody else thinks is good, and it won't necessarily consider your viewpoint. It'll be like, I feel this is good, so I'm doing this, even though it might be maybe bad in some cases.
Yeah.
And it and though it won't necessarily just outright, eat or attack people like blindly, it is not afraid or it is not even really that hesitant to exert its will and its power over others to achieve what it believes to be the ultimate good thing.
Well, yeah, because when you get that powerful, good isn't a single action. It's the
obviously,
good. It's a wide good.
It never is. Good and evil are obviously subjective, and that is kind of the point of this too. Yeah. But it's like, even with like, what is it? The bronze dragon, right? Bronze dragons are like very, very war hungry in a lot of ways. But it's always about, justice and war. They like to fight for good aligned, or like, more valorless or valorness and stuff like that. But they can be kind of pig-headed. They can be, again, very dismissive of things. We talked again about like the brass dragon. Like, brass dragons can be very unaware of like the fact that they love to talk to people, but they can literally they'll kidnap people to talk to them.
Yeah.
Like they will literally, again, kidnap and like cage people against their will, like trap people against their will to talk to them. And it's not because they're being mean, or because they're just like, like,
they're not gonna hurt them.
No,
but they're just like, well, I want to talk to you for a minute.
Yeah, they'll knock you out with their sleep breath. They'll snatch you up, take you back to the lair, and just be like, hey, let's have a talk for a bit. And again, it's like, because they just want to talk. And again, who among us doesn't necessarily have that feeling at times where they need to like connect and converse with a person and wish that, like, we could. And again, if you have the power to just make what you want happen, why wouldn't you just do that? You know what I mean? What's going to stop you, right? As a dragon, why wouldn't you? But again, that shows, right? He's not doing it from a bad place or a bad intention. He doesn't want to hurt you. He's not trying to hurt your feelings or whatever. He's just like, I just want to talk. And this was the easiest, best way to do it. So let's talk. Even though you're like, I don't want to talk. I want to leave. He's like, but I want to talk though.
Yeah. You also, there's the concept of like, these things live for up to thousands of years.
Tens of
potentially. So like what,
like,
a couple years to you, which is a long time. It's not a very long time.
It's
for
very
even a young dragon.
Oh,
that is not a long time.
It would be super short for a young dragon.
So like the idea of like the way you interact with these things is going to be intrinsically different because of where they sit on the food chain. And that's kind of what we like to. That's why we like talking about this stuff. Is it's not just about stat block. It's about like, how am I going to use this in a weird way?
Yeah. How do you apply this? How can you make this work? Obviously, in your campaign, in any campaign, these are the things and the things you can keep in mind. Where if you're trying to introduce or even run like a full dragon campaign, I would love to play in like a full dragon campaign like you guys are, like with Tyrion of the Dragon. To be fair, Tyrion of the Dragons is a little less flexible because it's specifically about.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you do not.
Evil dragon cult.
The only reason it's fun is because he's homebrewing a lot of extra stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Tyrion of the Dragons. I know that they revamped it recently too, like officially, but I know that Tyrion of the Dragons has canonically been like one of the worst modules by a lot of people.
Okay, well, it's just it suffers from the old-fashioned railroady module. It's very railroady. It is not. It's like super linear, and then it's like, all right, go where you want, and it's like, wait, but no, wait,
not really though. Yeah, not really. You want to go here. Actually,
you want to go here.
To go there. Yeah,
you can fail that campaign. Like you can easily just ignore it, and then it just
and
the world
Tiamat
ends.
Gets summoned, and the world ends. And shit.
Yeah. I do want to touch, because we touched on Dragon Turtle before. This is another. We don't have to touch on Dragon Turtle this time necessarily, but this is another dragon thing. It's considered a dragon, being the young sea serpent. Yes. I've never actually ran one of these, but I like them.
They're cool. They're definitely interesting.
Think Dragon Turtle, except this one's a big, long, water snakey guy.
Yeah.
It's a huge dragon, so
it's huge,
larger than the young
rest.
dragons.
Yeah, larger than the rest.
And I think that's also the case for Dragon Turtle. I think they're huger just because of the scope of the ocean in most settings. But they have an armor class of 16 and hit points of 123, speed of 10 on land, 40 in the water. So a little bit slower than their dragon counterparts. Pretty normal stat array with higher stats in strength and con, which makes sense. Same thing with their saving throws. It's strength and con, perception and stealth, like every other dragon, seemingly, and a damage immunity to cold. They do have what you would call superior dark vision, so dark vision out to 120 feet.
20 feet, double normal.
They do know common, surprisingly, and draconic. They can breathe air and water, and they have a siege monster trait. So the sea serpent deals double damage to objects and structures. Now,
basically being your ships that are on the water. These things can and will, as you might assume, based on the fact that they are literal sea monsters. Like, think of like the sea monsters you see in like Avatar: The Last Airbender, right?
Yeah.
This is literally exactly that, like the Unagi near Kyoshi Island, or the literal the Serpent's Pass serpent sea monster. Like, this is literally that overall, which is super cool. They're super fun.
So you look at like kind of what they can do. They have multi-attack. They can do bite attacks, a constrict attack, which allows you, if the creature is larger or smaller, it is grappled if it's hit, and it restrains the target, and it can only do this on one target at a time. Has a tail attack and also rhyme breath. So a sea serpent exhales a 30-foot cone of cold. Each creature in that area must make a DC 14 con save, taking 7d10 or 38 cold damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Now, these are cool. They don't have layers like a traditional dragon. They like to hang out inside old shipwrecks.
Yeah.
So this is not only used in nautical transportation campaigns, but also like if you're exploring, trying to find shipwrecks or things that were lost. I love these because you can also, like, there's nothing to say you couldn't flavor them in such a way where you could be like, well, you're in like a toxic area, so now it's doing poison or acid damage instead in like toxic waters.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they give more than one nautical option, because dragon turtles are iconic, but most people don't consider sea serpents to be dragons depending on the setting. I like that they're like, you know what? It is. Like,
yeah, I mean, well,
like,
it's a serpent. Like, that's literally what a dragon is. A dragon is also just historically, like, that was like the first real, like, I think original details or depictions of dragons were literally giant serpents. They were like snakes. They didn't have like wings or like, I think they eventually got wings, and then the Western Europeans gave them like arms and legs as well, instead of just being like serpents, like, because heck, even back, in Asian culture, they didn't have wings. They could just fly like by literally like riding on clouds. And they gave them, like, they still kept more of a serpentine body, which I do love about like the gold dragon, for instance. Like, the gold dragon still has a lot of that more Eastern kind of inspiration type, even though it does have more of like a Western European like body overall. Like, its head and neck, and even like the kind of the whisker thing, is much more Asian inspired, Asian culture inspired, which I think is cool. But I love the young sea serpent. That's a great one. We can probably also talk about the solar and lunar dragon as well, as again, they are a specific introduction from what was I'm missing the name for it. Spelljammer. There it is. Yeah. Specifically from Spelljammer.
Which one do you want? We'll each take one.
I'll take the solar. Why not? I'll hit that solar dragon. A young solar dragon. Now, solar dragon, also known as a radiant dragon or a sun dragon, is known to be born in the heart of a star. We'll probably learn a little bit more about that from Alastor and Elias at some point, I would say. But just want to kind of
adventure.
That flavor test. Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? They 100% journey through the stars, the astral plane, all around. I'm interested in I'm interested in the Planescape book that they're coming out with again, which I think will be a great addition for sure. I know that they needed to do that for a while, but obviously this is a large dragon, typically neutral, normally just true neutral overall, all around. Its armor class is 16, so still not really bumping up much from previous. It does, however, have a whopping 178 hit points. It has a walking speed of 20 and a fly speed of 60, interestingly enough, even though you'd think it might even be faster, like throughout the void of space. But either way, it does hover. It doesn't seem to have wings or anything like that, I don't believe, because obviously, why would you need wings in space? It has a strength of 20, dex of 15, a constitution of 20, an intelligence of 13, a wisdom of 14, and a charisma of 12. Its saving throws are dex, con, wisdom, charisma as the rest. It has perception, stealth for its skills. It has an immunity to radiant damage as well as the blinded condition. It has dark vision to 120, and it only speaks Draconic technically. It does, however, have both the flyby and unusual nature features, which is really cool. Flyby, the dragon doesn't provoke opportunity attacks when it flies out of an enemy's reach. That will be like super nasty and disgusting. Like the fact that it can literally just fly down, like claw, strike, and hit you, or breath weapon you, and then fly away, and you can't do shit about it. Unusual nature just means the dragon does not require air. It doesn't have to breathe because obviously it's in the vast vacuum of space. Specifically for its actions, it has multi-attack like the others. It makes one bite and one tail attack. Because I'm not entirely sure if it has arms and legs.
I think it's
actually
a serpenty.
Yeah, I think it's just like a sun serpent kind of thing. But its breath weapon is specifically known as photonic breath, which is a pretty dope name. The dragon exhales a flashing mode of radiant energy that travels to a point in the dragon can see within 120 feet of itself, then blossoms into a 20-foot radius sphere centered on that point. Each creature in the sphere must make a DC 17 con save or take 8d10 44 damage on average, radiant damage on a failed save, or have as much on a success. Like that whole thing there, super cool.
It's
flavor.
a fireball.
It literally is, but it's like it's a sun ball. Like it's like literally
it
just
is
like
the fireball.
It is it is the dragon fireball. It is the solar fireball. And it's dope. And again, though, at this level, like again, compared to the rest of its draconic kin, like this is a lot of fucking damage, as well as like yeah.
It's just I love these some of the new dragons. Their breath weapons are like intrinsically different than the originals.
Yeah,
with the like psionic breath and the forest breath and
yeah,
things like
no,
this,
it's really cool.
Like that's I love that it's just a little bit different because dragons do get a little samey. Aside from the weird ones,
they can, and
you have to really play them out. That's the fun part.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
appeal.
Dragons get samey because of the way that people usually portray them. Like they are very diversified if you just kind of know how to apply them in certain ways. Again, like I'm sure Alastor and Elias have said, like
they
dragons,
some very different outcomes
of all the different types. Even though some of it was similar in certain ways, the way that it was almost expressed and done was very different and varied between all of them. Like again, purpose. Yeah, exactly. It's like again, like green dragons, for instance, are known canonically like they are spellcasters. They're the ones
secretive and weird, and
they're very secretive and they're very stealthy and they're very manipulative. Like they're not like blues or reds or even like blacks or whites, and that they specifically like more so to manipulate behind the scenes and to kind of puppet string things rather than be directly involved and to directly like kill things unnecessarily.
Speaking of behind the scenes,
yes,
I do want to touch on Lunar Dragon because
indeed.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I bought Fizban's and then I never actually read it. I'm a terrible person.
How do you not read Fizban's?
I think I got it, and then I was indisposed for a while. But
okay, yeah, that does make sense then.
Because I feel like I just missed this whole fun new thing,
dude. These things, Fizban was great, man. Yeah. Now I'm looking forward to Big B's Glorious Giants book as well. Like I'm
intrigued as what they're gonna do with Giants.
I've been waiting for them to really expand upon Giants more in 5th edition. Well, they are so cool.
They have like a really neat culture similar to dragons.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Giants are like the only things that can really compare to dragons in terms of just that raw like power.
Physical, yeah.
That raw physical / elemental like power just by nature alone.
So to compare lunar to solar in a way. Armor class 16. I don't remember. Is solar the same or higher? I don't remember.
I think armor class is 16 for solar, but its hit points.
So lunar is significantly lower. It's 123 on average.
Yeah.
Its speed is different though. 40-foot walking speed, 20-foot burrow speed, fly speed of 80.
Yeah, way quicker.
So this creature is, I think, a little bit more instinctual. You look at its stat block: high strength, high con, sub 10 intelligence. It has an 8. Its saving throws are con and wisdom, which is interesting. Perception and stealth as always. Its damage immunity is cold. It has crazy dark vision up to 240 feet.
Jesus Christ,
it only knows
bonkers.
It only knows draconic. Keep in mind I'm going to tell you where these things come from.
Yeah.
Its multi-attack is 1 bite, 2 claws. So this is a more conventional dragon. It has wings.
Oh yeah,
claws.
if it has a burrow speed, I would assume it has like claws.
It looks like a normal dragon. Bite and claw. It has a cold breath, which is a DC 15. It's a 30-foot cone, DC 15 con save. Failed save, the creature takes 27, so significantly less.
68 specifically.
And its speed is halved. So it also has a speed debuff built in. On a successful save, the creature takes half and its speed isn't reduced. It has a cool bonus action, though. Well, it has a couple things. It can tunnel, which we talked about. It has the same unusual nature. It also has the ability to phase. So twice a day, the dragon becomes partially incorporeal for as long as it maintains concentration on the effect. While partially incorporeal, the dragon has resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Now, this incorporeal nature, it's not to the extent that it can pass through other creatures or solid objects,
but it grants it resistance to
damage. Ostensibly, roughly half the dragon's body has a dark, indistinctly spectral form. So what this would allow it to do, in how I'm reading it, and you can correct me if you think something different, is hide in space.
I don't see why not.
Because incorporeal means see-through to a degree. It's like ghostly. So in the depths of the astral plane, or on the shadow of a moon, where they commonly take up residence, you would not be able to see it in the shadows, ostensibly.
It would
even be difficult to see it normally because it is the color of the moon. It is a slate gray, ashy color. What I love about these specifically is that they are not necessarily the smartest. They really aren't. They're definitely
they're actually the dumbest. Yeah,
similar to like a white dragon.
I think they might be even dumber than the white.
They
dragon.
are, because they also don't even speak common. But
I was gonna say
what's cool about this, and I love this little.
Never mind. They're not dumber than the white dragon. Never mind. Okay. No, white dragon's dumber.
Well, so here's kind of their little tagline. They're also known as moon dragons or phase dragons, are capricious, xenophobic creatures that make their lairs inside desolate moons by burrowing through the rock. Now, here's my favorite thing. Instead of getting treasure like a normal dragon, lunar dragons enjoy depriving other creatures of treasure more than acquiring treasure themselves. Often found among so what they'd like to do is they like to sit on rocks.
They just like to steal people's shit.
They like to wait for cargo to go back and forth into their territory and kill
pirates
it, and then take it. It's fantastic because it is again, they're not super smart. So if they see something coming close to them, they're like, "Oh, fuck you."
Yeah,
you're right there. I don't like that. Yeah. I don't like that. I'm gonna slow you down.
I want your shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna slow you down.
You deserve your shit. I deserve your shit.
I'm gonna freeze half of your ship over, and while you all die in the astral plane,
in the vacuum of space,
because I knock you off your ship and you go floating off, and now you're
unless you have air bubble, you're freaking dead.
And I would argue most people do, but that stuff runs out eventually.
Oh no, it does. You only have a limited number of spell slots in time. So
the reality is that these are the kind of antithesis to the Sun Dragon in a very nice way.
Yeah. Clearly,
I like it a lot.
They are typically lawful evil. Is usually their alignment, and it is.
I love it.
The flavor is great. But you know what? Just to talk, like, since we already kind of mentioned the young white dragon, let's go ahead and talk about the young white dragon.
Sure.
Because I think the young white dragon might be. Let's see here. He's not quite the lowest CR, but boy, young white dragon has got, I think, maybe the lowest stats of all of them. Let's just to be sure here. Let's just check. Yeah, he does, which is interesting. Yeah, he absolutely does. Good Lord, that's interesting. And once again, you guys, this kind of goes to show CR is such a murky,
convoluted.
Well, I don't even say it's convoluted. It just is not really very applicable or accurate. Like, you can't really trust it. You know what I mean? I would very much state, like if you hear nothing else, hear this. CR is by no means the the be all and do all of establishing encounters or difficulty for or power level for monsters, right? Like it's just not, because again, a young white dragon is a CR6, which is not the lowest. Some others are CR5, but this particular dragon, white dragons, they have a armor class of 17 natural, 133 hit points. They have a speed of 40 feet of walking, 20 feet of burrowing, 80 feet of flying, and 40 feet of swimming. They have a strength of 18, a dex of 10, a con of 18, an intelligence of 6, which is the lowest of any dragon, a wisdom of 11, and a charisma of 12. They have the usual saving throws as well as skill proficiencies, obviously an immunity to cold. They have blind sight to 30 feet, dark vision to 120, and they can speak Draconic and Common. They have one bonus feature, which is known as Ice Walk. The dragon can move across and climb icy surfaces without needing to make an ability check. Additional difficult terrain composed of ice or snow doesn't cost it extra movement, which, to be fair, it doesn't really matter much. It could usually probably fly or burrow anyway. So I feel like this particular feature, like, it's a nice, I guess, flavor.
It's to basically give you the excuse of like, why are we fighting in a blizzard and he can move just as fast as he normally can? That's the only.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Which,
that's the only thing.
One could just make. I think one could probably just assume and be like, it's a white dragon.
Yeah,
like he's immune to cold. It doesn't matter. Yeah, like,
well, they have that.
This is its home thing. Either way, that right there kind of shows you this particular dragon is severely lacking, even at this age, compared to like all the others.
I mean, it's comparable, I would say, to the lunar dragon, and like it's just the smallest of the chromatics.
I mean, it's the smallest of the chromatics. Yeah. I mean, even like, its breath weapon is decent. It does do 10d8 cold damage, 45 on average damage specifically, with a 15 DC for a con save. It has a 30-foot cone. Obviously, all of them will. So I mean, it's like this is your quintessential kind of just like, if you just want to throw a beast, like a bestial dragon at the party, you go with the like a young white dragon, where you're just like, hey, you want to fight like a dragon, but you don't necessarily want to like run a more maybe in-depth or more
complicated,
like, or complicated, like, personality of a dragon. You just throw a white dragon at them and it will just do the whole thing, and this is the perfect kind of one for it. Again, it's got a decent amount of hit points, armor class. It can move across all terrain, like, great and amazing. And it hits pretty decent.
I mean, we're shitting on the white dragon a little bit here. There is something that, and we talked about this with, Elias and Alastor did mention this as well. They are unbelievably good at hunting prey.
They are.
They've changed their mental prowess in terms of like raw intelligence.
Yeah, instinctual.
They have. I mean, you talk about tuned instincts. I mean,
highly tuned senses and instincts.
They will track you, and it's not just they might find you. And I understand that maybe because monsters have a different stat block than like player characters, so things like their perception and stuff like that, numbers don't get as high. To me, the way I look at it, they have an entire thing on here about how they are the best hunters.
They are the quintessential hunter.
They have extraordinary memory. So to me, I look at a +6 perception or like say +6 survival, and I give them advantage on that. Like especially if they're in their home territory.
Oh yeah, I like that.
To fight a dragon like this, it will not let you leave. Yeah, there is no chance. You either kill it or it kills you.
Yeah, it will track you down unless there is something that's literally keeping it from doing so. Like, for instance, if you wound it enough, it will then run away. It won't. I don't think it will fight to the death.
No, but you know what it will do is it will remember that forever, and it will find you again.
It has I think again. Same thing.
Similar to black dragons, they're both very vengeful creatures.
Oh, they are super petty, vengeful creatures. They will never forget a slight done to them at any point.
Yes, these are basic, but even and we just said this.
You can add
even just the most basic of dragon in terms of personality is still gives you so much room. Yeah, which is why we like these creatures.
Kind of stuff, which is why they're so great, and why, in my opinion, you should always do your best to incorporate a dragon in some extent in every campaign.
Somewhere. It doesn't have to be an enemy.
No. It doesn't have to be an enemy. It doesn't even have to be a long time. It could be like, oh, you're passing through a territory. Maybe you like encounter like, yeah, a brass dragon or a silver dragon, and you kind of have a conversation. Maybe it's like they give you like some item that you're looking for. They tell you information about something that you're needing to do. Like, you know, just incorporate a dragon somewhere, because I will guaranteed 100% of the time that your players will always just be like, oh, a dragon, like in some way, shape, or form. If you give it to them to fight, or if you give it to them to just talk and interact for a bit, it will always just be a lovely, just heart uplifting surprise. In addition to any game.
Do we want to touch on wyverns? Because they are considered dragons, and they are kind of in this class.
I mean, they are dragonkin, yes.
They are so cousins to the large dragons. They are basically, think slightly smaller dragon. They're still large. These would be more so flying cavalry.
Yes.
Evil flying you know,
or mounts. They're
swords.
like, yeah.
So you look at a wyvern, they're challenge rank 6, so same as the, you know, some of the younger
white dragon, the young white
and the
dragon.
brass dragon.
Yeah, the brass dragon. Yeah, so, higher than even some of the young true dragons, interestingly enough.
Yeah, so armor class of 13, so significantly lower. Hit points 110, so not too different. High strength, high con, and then 5 intelligence, 6 charisma. So yeah. These are definitely, we look at the white dragon as bestial. These are legitimately
they are real beasts. Yeah,
these are beasts of burden.
Again, that's why they are usually great as mounts, especially because again, they don't have an alignment. For instance, they are very easily trained,
they're tameable,
shifted, and tameable to any kind of like desire. You know,
they're
what
wild
I mean?
Creatures. They just happen to be big, and they have wings and scales. Yep. They have a walking speed of 20 feet, a flying speed of 80. Again, flying mounts. They have skills in perception. They have 60 feet of dark vision. They don't speak any languages because, again, wild beast.
Yep. 5 intelligence.
They do have a multi-attack. So 2 attacks, one with its bite and one with its stinger. While flying, it can use its claws in place of one of the attacks. The main kind of juicy thing here is the stinger. It has 10-foot reach. It does 2d6 plus 4 piercing on a hit. Target must make a DC 15 con save, taking 76 or 24 poison damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Now, we look at this, it's not flashy. Wyverns are extremely threatening to lower parties. I mean, getting hit by 2 attacks, one of them hitting you and then possibly poisoning you on top of that.
I mean, yeah, that DC 15 at a CR6 is nothing to sneeze at. Like that. At that level for your party, again, probably are going to be around like 2 to maybe 4 at the highest. It's like that can deal some nasty damage to you.
For me, what I like about wyverns is that because they are unaligned, you can encounter them in the wild and they'll be aggressive, or you encounter them both in evil society and good society. They're just flying horses with scales, as opposed to like griffins or, you know,
and
stuff like that.
Venom and poison, and you know,
and the reality is this takes like a guard force and makes them extremely threatening. So whether it's stationed in a city and you're like, hey, I mean, you can mess with this town, but look what they have right there. Look
the
at
dragon riders, you know,
yeah,
like, you know,
or
the
like,
wyvern
as
riders, right?
You know, you see this a lot in evil dragon campaigns like Tyranny of Dragon, you know, cult wyverns, you know, thing like it turns a normal person into ostensibly a beast with extra things that it can do because you have a rider. And so
I mean, it also has a 10-foot reach too on its bite and stinger. Like that alone will just
let's just put this out here. The same flying speed as a lot of these dragons.
The dragons at this level, even higher too.
They can go fast. You know, it's definitely
gotta go fast. Yeah,
gotta go fast. Always
gotta go fast.
And I know that they're not a true dragon. But I think there's something we have to touch upon in that kind of area of dragons. Is that they
are, especially in today's culture, like IRL, they are so widely interchanged between at this point. Like a lot of people wouldn't even know the difference between a wyvern and a dragon. Obviously, how you define the two is wyverns specifically do not have 4 limbs. Their arms are like their wings themselves. They might have like maybe like a couple protruding like claws.
They have
or
claws at the end of the wings.
something.
Similar,
Usually,
think bats in
yeah,
a way.
like exactly like bats. They are much more akin to bats, whereas true dragons have 4 limbs specifically, and then wings that protrude out of their back. That is the difference between a wyvern and a dragon, technically speaking. But they are used so interchangeably, like again in like Game of
fantasy
Thrones,
and things like that,
like all kinds of things that it can be difficult to discern the two, especially if you come into a medium that's like that does have them distinctly different. But these things, wyverns are great. They're amazing. They're technically not considered to be true dragons, again, because of the reasons that we just stated. But they're still very dangerous and deadly. Almost anything that falls under the draconic or dragon like monster type category will be considered quite dangerous and deadly almost at any level or CR. We can even just go into, since if we're going to kind of start introducing them, we might as well just talk about the pseudo dragon real quick. Everybody who is familiar will love the pseudo dragon. They are great.
Adorable.
We love them. Adorable. We love them so very much.
I petition for more campaigns to have more pseudo dragons.
Agreed. 100%. Pseudo dragons are just great. Where the freak are you, my friend?
All the way at the beginning.
All right. Here we are.
The beginning.
Yeah, there they are. One cool thing, too, about pseudo dragons is you can indeed make them familiars. For instance, Alastor actually has a pseudo dragon familiar named Umbra, who I think he's mentioned once or twice at this point. But yes, pseudo dragons are tiny dragon creatures, usually neutral good. They have an armor class of 13, hit points of 7. And a speed of 15 feet walking, but a 60-foot fly. They have 6 strength, 15 dex, 13 con, 10 intelligence, 12 wisdom, and 6 charisma. So not super strong boys, but they're very quick, and they're pretty bulky and decently wise. They have skills in perception and stealth, like every other kind of true dragon. They also have blind sight to 10 feet and dark vision to 60. They understand common and draconic, but cannot speak them. And they have a couple of different abilities, which are really cool. They've got keen senses, so they have advantage on all wisdom perception checks that rely on sight, hearing, or smell, which is basically going to be all of them. They have magic resistance, which the pseudo dragon has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects, which is phenomenal. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily really matter because usually any amount of damage will just kill a pseudo dragon outright because they only have 7 hit points because they are just a tiny, they're like a cat-sized dragon.
You never know, man. Firebolt, you can roll low enough.
Firebolt is an attack roll, not a save.
Oh, whatever, dude.
Yeah, so they'll die. Fireball, there's no way. Like,
no.
Yeah, there's a fireball. It doesn't matter if they have advantage. And limited telepathy.
The burning hands.
Burn, even that 2d6, maybe. Yes, burning hands. I think is what 2, maybe 3d6. So maybe if they can pass, but they don't have any bonus. They don't have any proficiency with saves, so it would just be the roll of the dice, and then plus whatever their thing, which is usually going to be a +1, or +2, I guess in this case, but still. They also have limited telepathy, which is really cool. The pseudo dragon can magically communicate simple ideas, emotions, and images telepathically with any creature within 100 feet of it that can understand a language. No, you don't have, the pseudo dragon doesn't have to see you. It just has to know that you're within 100 feet and that you can understand a language, and it can communicate simple ideas, emotions, and images. Like, that's awesome. I've done so much with my little pseudo dragon Umbra, just flavor wise, and how he's able to communicate and stuff. Like, it's great. It's amazing. Pseudo dragons are fantastic mascots and great familiars to have in any campaign. They do, interestingly enough, like the wyvern, have a sting attack. It's a +4. It's only +4 to hit. And if they do hit, you're only going to take like 1d4 plus 2 damage, on average 4. But you also have to make a DC 11 con save or become poisoned for 1 hour. And if the saving throw fails by 5 or more, the target falls unconscious for the same duration or until it takes damage or another creature uses an action to shake it awake. Like, so that right there, like I said, at any level, anything with the dragon like monster type, draconic kin, can be super dangerous in some capacity. Again, it is a DC 11 save. But at this level, like if you just have like a low level party encountering a pseudo dragon, or even if you just have a person, for instance, who doesn't have good con, like they might potentially just fall asleep for an hour.
And like again, these are I like stuff like this because these creatures aren't exactly maybe things you encounter in the wild or things you would fight necessarily. The reality is though, like you go to a magic shop, why wouldn't the proprietor have a pseudo dragon who walks around and greets guests, or like helps him with things, brings in little notes and things? It's stuff like that where you take a world that is supposed to be fantasy. Why wouldn't there be, like, obviously you'd have, you look at like Harry Potter, for example, they have like the owls bringing stuff back and forth.
Owls, why wouldn't they be little miniature dragons? Why wouldn't
a pseudo dragon be used as a carrier animal, considering they're good at seeing, they can move fast, and if
they can communicate telepathically,
and also like the fact, like if they're attacked by, say, a predator bird or something of that nature, they just put them to sleep. Like they
can fight back. Like if it's
have a defense mechanism, and so like it's one of those things. I love
blind sight to 10 feet. One of the biggest features of them that I love the most too is, like I said, you can make pseudo dragons familiars, and not like necessarily just from the find familiar spell. Personally, again, I think we talked about it before, like in our games, we allow that to happen. Usually it's like a specific trait of like the warlock, which allows you to do this, but we usually allow it because it's easier that way. If you want to pseudo dragons, like you can use find familiar, it's easier because then you have to worry about them potentially dying. But with pseudo dragons, you don't need find familiar technically. Mages often seek out pseudo dragons whose agreeable disposition, telepathic ability, and resistance to magic make them superior familiars. Pseudo dragons, however, are very selective when it comes to choosing companions, but they can sometimes be won over with gifts of food or treasure. And when a pseudo dragon finds an agreeable companion, it bonds with that person as long as it is treated fairly.
And
a pseudo dragon, go ahead.
The thing I know you talked about, you can just have one with find familiar. If you don't like that rule, there's always if you find a pseudo dragon and win it over, why couldn't you just attune it with the find familiar spell so you don't lose it?
That's what I did. Like I didn't like that.
I love that.
Alastor didn't specifically like just summon it.
Gotcha.
Find familiar.
Okay.
He specifically did find, and like there was some kind of like interesting, like almost kind of eldritchy kind of ritual or whatever that was kind of performed. Like this Umbra is not like a normal pseudo dragon. Like for instance, Umbra can't, like, I can't change his form, for instance. Like he can only ever just be a pseudo
that would
dragon.
that makes sense.
And he's bound, like he's basically been like soul bonded with Alastor at this point. So like even if he dies, Alastor can still bring him back by like summoning and almost like reviving him, like with Revivify or whatever, but not actually using that spell. Like he basically just functions like the find familiar spell, but he's a real creature. He's an actual pseudo dragon that's connected. But pseudo dragon puts up with no ill treatment, and it will abandon a manipulative or abusive companion without warning. Be aware, if you treat it poorly, they absolutely can and will dip the hell out. But honestly, we love pseudo dragons. They're phenomenal. They're great. Like seriously, get more of them in your games. All right, at this point, do we want to move on to the adult level of the young, or did you want to, of the dragon, or did you want to talk a little bit more about the other young dragons?
Let me talk. I wanted to touch on real quick the what were we taught? The guard drakes.
Guard drakes. Nice.
So guard drakes, this is real easy. This is most likely going to be in your Dragon Cult campaigns, but you can throw it in whenever you want. A guard drake is a reptilian creature created out of dragon scales by means of a bizarre and grisly ritual. When trained properly, a drake is obedient and territorial, which makes it an excellent watch beast that can follow simple commands. So they have in here that this is practiced often by Tiamat's cult. There's no reason why this couldn't be just a thing anyway, no matter where you are. But guard drakes are ostensibly, they're medium, so they're not huge. They're person-sized. They're like guard dogs, but they're dragon flavored. So armor class of 14, hit points of 52, 30-foot speed. Some of them have a burrowing speed as well. High strength, decently high strength, decently high con. Everything else is kind of middling to average. They have a damage resistance based on their color, and then dark vision of 60 feet. They can understand Draconic, but they can't speak, and they have a multi-attack with a bite and a tail. These are ostensibly, you can use these as super low CR dragon-esque monsters. In my opinion, this is also a great, I would allow this for maybe a ranger beast companion, for like a small ranger as a mount, because these are I feel like a gnome,
I'm pretty
or
sure
kobold,
the Drake Ranger or what, the Drake Warden literally
ostensibly
has
a guard drake.
Yeah, literally has basically that just grows with them, which is pretty cool.
These aren't like crazy, but I like the fact that there is another option for something that is, not a dragon but is a dragon. I did want to touch on one weird one kind of out of the ordinary young dragon before we went into adults.
Sure, go ahead.
That is because it is ostensibly stronger via, it's the same CR as some adult dragons, which is the young red shadow dragon.
I was wondering if we wanted to talk about, I was gonna say we might want to just save the shadow dragon for later, because it's shadow dragon is like one of the more powerful kind of versions too, and we might want to maybe just like save it towards the end for for how much it can really do at the end, because shadow dragons obviously don't have to be just red dragons, but they are usually even more powerful than the normal dragons.
Yeah, for kind of context, the young varietal is about the same strength as some adult dragons. So we'll talk about those. We'll talk about them later.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll save shadow dragons for a little bit later, because again, they're technically not like normal. They are. Yeah, they are essentially, since we kind of touched on them now, we'll just give you a little bit of a taste. Like, shadow dragons are true dragons that were either born in the Shadowfell or transformed by years spent there, like confined within the shadow, or some other kind of dark adjacent-esque magic, or so to speak. Like, they are corrupted dragons, and they are exceedingly dangerous and exceedingly powerful. Even more so, like it depends on what age and type of dragon.
They're super cool though.
Yeah, they are super cool. And they are essentially like a buffed up, like, dark version, and they're usually just evil as shit.
And if you're like me and you love anything that comes out of the Shadowfell as a monster category,
it's always pretty cool. It's always pretty great.
Well, with that, I think we could move into adult. I feel like we've touched on enough of the young dragons.
Let's move into adult real quick, and we can kind of touch on some of the others. So once again, moving on to the adult age category for dragons. Once again, their CRs have almost doubled. Not quite as much as the last time. They haven't bumped up quite as much. Some of them more than others, of course, because this is definitely when things start to get a little bit more, crazy. So let's see here. Yeah, like, for instance, the highest now would be at this point 17, which would be the adult gold dragon, adult red dragon,
dragon tortoise.
Dragon tortoise would be there. Let's see. Go large.
They're huge now.
They are huge. As adults, they do not they don't mess around. So yeah, which of the dragons do you want to kind of touch upon at their adult level here, Sammy?
Sure. Let's see. I'm gonna go with green, because we haven't really talked about green dragons a huge amount yet.
Fair, go right ahead.
So there's a couple things that are gonna be new for these guys. One, their armor class is up. Adult green dragon, which I'd say is the middle of the pack in terms of raw stats for the adult dragons.
Oh yeah, as is usually the case for them.
Yep, armor class of 19, hit points 207, so there's a little bit of a bump up there. Normal speed of 40, fly speed of 80, swim speed of 40. So again, their speed's about the same. Now we get into stats, where there is a kind of a big difference. Now you're going to start seeing stats over 20. So, for example, adult green dragon, strength of 23, dex of 12, con of 21, intelligence of 18, wisdom of 15, charisma of 17. Same saving throws, dex, con, wisdom, and charisma. But now, specifically with green dragons, as they're more subterfuge based, their skills are deception, insight, perception, persuasion, and stealth. They have a damage immunity and a condition immunity to poison. They have a blind sight of 60 feet, dark vision of 120 feet. They know common and draconic. They now have something that's going to be common among all the adult dragons, a legendary resistance. So 3 times a day, if a dragon fails a saving throw, it can choose to succeed. Now, this is on anything that requires a saving throw, except for death saves, I'm pretty sure. You don't really run death saves for monsters, so that's fine. They do have multi-attack. The dragon can use its frightful presence, then it makes 3 attacks, 1 with its bite and 2 with its claws. To go over, bite, claw, and tail are pretty straightforward. Bite has a reach of 10 and does poison damage on top. Claws, 5-foot reach, it's normal attack. And then tail attack is a 15-foot reach and does bludgeoning damage. Frightful presence is going to be on, I think, all of these dragons. Each creature of the dragon's choice that was within 120 feet of the dragon and aware of it must succeed on a DC 16 wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute. Now, for those of you who don't know what frightened is, a frightened creature has disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while the source of its fear is within line of sight. The creature can also not move any closer willingly to the source of that fear. Now, in that 1 minute, a creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, which is a key part of this, ending the effect on itself on a success. If a creature's saving throw is successful, or the effect ends for it, the creature is immune to the dragon's frightful presence within the next 24 hours. Now, what I love about this is the beginning of this thing, is it says it must be aware of the dragon. Some of these dragons can be quite stealthy, surprisingly. And if you were going to run it where it's like, well, make a saving throw and you don't know where that dragon is, they're not aware of it being there, I don't like that. So the fact that they word it in such a way where it's like, this dragon has to be in front of you is a huge, it's the point.
Well, or at the very least, you need to know again of its presence in a way. Like you need to be
like
aware.
If it roars, or
if it whispers, like you can't see it, but you still know it's there. Like you can still be.
I like the connotation of like you have to be aware of it being there.
And it makes sense. Another thing I like too is that they specifically stipulate in the action that you can use its frightful presence and then make 3 attacks. Like so, it's just a part of all that same attack action where you can literally just come and you're just like, and then you just start going at it with this dude.
Yeah.
And then like again, if you're in melee range and they fail to save, they'll have disadvantage on all their attacks against you. And even better, if you just like back off from them,
they can't get closer.
And they can't get closer. You just breath.
It is debilitating to melee only classes.
It really can be. Like, and again, a lot of them aren't going to have super high wisdom saves at that point either. Like a lot of melee classes just won't. It sounds weird. Even at this level,
a DC 16 is high enough that on average half the party will fail.
Yeah,
and it can be debilitating to any form of strategy when you get to that point.
Honestly, for me, one thing about Frightful Presence, I love it. The one thing I don't appreciate and like about it is the fact that it's like once you save from it, then you're automatically like immune to it for the next 24 hours.
Oh, see, I like it.
I don't. I'm like, look, you can save from it because you get a chance to continuously save from it every round anyway. So then I feel like it's still kind of dumb that it's like, oh, well, okay, then once you do it, now you're just immune to it for 24 hours and now it's no longer applicable at all. I
think there's 2 reasons for it. The fact that the dragon can do it every turn if it wanted to is why it's a one and done once you save. I think a way you could tweak this to be fair on both sides is maybe just
make it a recharge.
I would say once per encounter, maybe. So like if you fight this dragon and then you fight it again the same day, like if there's a running thing. I don't know.
Again, I feel like once again, if you have poison breath and you can recharge poison breath, I don't see why you can't just basically like recharge Frightful Presence.
I think the whole idea is that like these creatures are so terrifying and so powerful that until you buck up or shut up, there is a problem. Like, you could be confident as hell walking into it fighting one of these things, but the moment it makes itself known, you falter. That is kind of the idea of these creatures are so
That's what I mean.
powerful
I don't know
and
why that should
frightful.
suddenly change just because you finally like kind of route it. Like again,
I
it's
think
not
it's
like
the
you
it's that
route your
hero trope.
courage.
It's hero trope of like, you
Sure, but
finally
it's like
push through.
heroes, and you can, but it doesn't mean that you still can't feel that fear again, especially since it's like a magical thing too. It's like the dragon itself is literally like exuding this
Yeah.
powerful force of will. So I'm like, that's just one part about it that I personally would tweak just a little bit. I would just make it so it like the poison breath, like the breath weapon, it recharges on like a 5 or a 6 or whatever.
I mean, I would say that would increase the difficulty of these fights significantly.
Maybe not, because again, depending, certain like again, half of your party will probably be able to make that save anyway, and then maybe even at this level have abilities and spells that can just get rid of the fear anyway.
Maybe,
you know what I mean? Like for me,
sometimes no though.
My experience is a lot of like at this level, because this is a CR 15 creature right here, meaning a lot of your party members are probably going to be like anywhere from like 7th level to maybe even like 9,
10.
maybe 10, fighting this thing, at which point it's like a lot of them are gonna have plenty of things that will help them to like monks can just get rid of this thing right away, both druids, clerics, wizards, and who else, rangers will all have pretty high wisdom as well as the saves to try to make it. And it's a DC 16, so it's not very high, so it's like it's still high enough, like you said, like 15 and 16 is nothing to sneeze at, but it's still within a pretty decent range. And it's like you might as well, I feel like, to really hit home that dangerous, powerful presence of this dragon, it should be able to inflict it on you more than just once a day, you know?
I mean, I'll put it this way, Adam. I'm surprised at this take from someone who rolls so garbage all the time.
But that's what I'm saying. I like it. It's like
I'm gonna say this. I have fought dragons with multiple different classes, and without fail, every time we have fought a dragon, frightful presence has become a problem throughout the party. Not for every character, but consistently has made a large impact on pretty much every dragon fight I've been in, except the last one I was in. And for me, playing both ranged and melee characters, playing casters and martial classes, throughout all of my playing, I think like this ability has affected every dragon fight we've been in. I think to a fair amount. That's just my take. I understand where you're coming from. I like that you're like, well, maybe it's not. And like, I think, there's named dragons and more prolific dragon entities of the same difficulty class of some of these dragons. You know what? I like, if you're fighting something that is a well-known, there's ways to implement this.
Infamous dragon.
Yeah, I feel like enemy. I like what you're saying. Like on a recharge, I think it makes sense because it's the dichotomy of like, how well is the DM rolling on these recharges? Because
that's what I'm saying. It's not guaranteed that they'll get it back, and it's not guaranteed that he'll be able to do it more. It really is because it's also a luck of the dice.
It's also like again, you do one or the other. It's either dragon breath or attack and frightful presence. It's
exactly.
Not both.
Exactly. So you can't just do that and whatever. So it's like, again, for instance, if you recharge your breath, you're like, all right, you know what? I'll use the breath instead of trying to frighten them again and then like attack.
Yeah.
Or if I don't have my breath, all right, I'll try my frightful presence again to maybe get them to not be able to like get closer or attack me maybe this round, because they might make it. Because again, obviously this whole thing is highly predicated on rolling, right? It's all chance. Because even someone with a shit or not even great wisdom, if you just roll decent, you're probably gonna succeed, and then it'll just be done for the full 24 hours, which is like, I'm like, hey, I don't really see, like, because again, like I said, even for me, and this is coming from a person who is infamously shit at rolling, where I'm like, this just makes, again, this is a dragon, it's an adult dragon. This thing right here at this point,
it's from anywhere from 100 to 800 years old.
Yeah, 800 years old. This thing is legitimately scary. You shouldn't just be scared of it for like a minute or something, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh well, now I don't feel any real fear anymore. It's like this thing should still be able to elicit, especially because this is the first level where they can do this, right? You can't do this at Wyrmling or young. When you're an adult, this is now when you're finally being able to exert your presence and will on the world.
You know what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to get a couple people together and do some like gauntlet style testing of some of these homebrew things.
Yes.
Because you know what?
Yes.
Don't
tease me, Samuel.
No, I would. I'd be down for something like that.
Fuck with me with this, bro. This aren't like you.
No, because we've talked about a lot of homebrew things, both for classes and monsters. We talked a lot about it in our balanced stuff. We've talked about it in spells. We've talked about it in backgrounds.
Specific video about homebrew. Like we're gonna have to just. I think that'll be one of our next ones. I already put that. Yeah, I believe I put that down as one of our topics. That we have to talk about next.
We should test these things and see how they actually work because
I've tested a decent amount of them myself. And
I'm just saying. We have what seems to be two different experiences with Fightful Presence, being people who have played the game for a fair amount of time.
It's true.
So I'd like to see how that would shake out with a pretty balanced party of the right level.
All right.
Before we keep doing that, we should touch on the next iteration of Breath. What used to be a 30-foot cone for green dragons is now a 60-foot cone. They must make a DC 18 con save, taking 16 d6 or 58 poison damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Now, if you're anyone who I play with, no one ever uses averages because I've been hit with 70s, 80s from these.
Because it's using the average is fine if you maybe have to like.
If you have a crap load of enemies, but
if you have like a ton of enemies, or if it's like if an encounter might be like is going on for too long, you just need to be like you take this damage, that's it. Like, but obviously, rolling not only gives you a chance to hit higher potentially, but also lower, so that you don't.
Same as the players with things like spells.
Exactly, it's like the shitty part being is like if you as a player can't necessarily deal average amount of damage, but your GM can. It's like it can be a little bit annoying. It's like you just take this damage. Like,
it's the classic. Well, this guy's controlling multiple things, so give him a fucking chance.
Exactly. Yeah. It's basically like he's got a lot more on his plate, so he maybe just has to streamline the process, which is fine. I, for one, am all about that too, of being like, hey, don't get bogged down with the unnecessary, unfun stuff. Like, if you don't need to do this, if this isn't actually impacting the true like balance or fun of the game, then you probably don't need to worry about it too much. But as you guys can see, this bumped up exponentially.
Yeah,
literally doubled, if not in some cases like tripled at times.
Yeah,
with its capacity. Like,
and now you run into the other cool new thing, which is legendary actions. Yep. Now you'll see this on a lot of big like boss type monsters, but the dragon can take 3 legendary actions. Only 1 legendary action option can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. The dragon regains spent legendary actions on the start of its turn. Now, this is kind of to make a dragon be able to fight multiple people.
Multiple enemies. Like that's one thing. Action economy.
Yeah, action economy. So here are the 3 options. And one of them no one ever uses, which is detect. The dragon makes a wisdom perception check. Then there's tail attack. The dragon makes a tail attack. Or, which costing 2 legendary actions, a wing attack. The dragon beats its wings. Each creature within 10 feet of the dragon must succeed on a DC 19 dexterity saving throw, or take 2d6 plus 8 or 13 bludgeoning damage and be knocked prone. The dragon can then fly up to half its flying speed. This is the most annoying one.
Oh yeah.
Because it can ostensibly knock down a bunch of people, which while you're prone, I don't know if you can make. You can.
It will be at disadvantage.
Yeah,
it's all your attacks. You can still try, but the problem being too is another thing. If, for instance, the dragon is already in the air,
it's like 10 feet up,
and you have somehow gotten either on the dragon, you're holding on to him and hitting him, or you're flying or some other way up in the air.
Still knocks you down.
This thing. He will knock you prone, meaning you will then take damage from being up there with him, and he can then just fly the opposite direction. So at that point, if you're being knocked prone, I would then say you probably cannot attack him. No. If you're currently falling, if you were knocked prone first on the ground and then he flew, I'd be like, yeah, okay, you can try. But if you're literally like knocked out of the air and you're falling, I'm like, no, you can't attack him while you're falling through the air.
And I mean, that's we're getting into these dragon fights that are ostensibly a lot more difficult.
Yeah. And what's the most annoying is he can do that and still do like a tail attack, which is basically what you'll do anyway. Like Sam said, nobody does detect. Like there's no reason.
there's sometimes if you have like a party that specializes in like if they have like more than one rogue and they like to stealth shoot people,
I
sometimes
mean,
sometimes there
but
is
they have blind sight to 60 feet though, so it's like
yeah,
that
and I
doesn't.
can shoot you from 120 feet away.
I mean, maybe a disadvantage with
No, I mean if you have a longbow.
Rogues can't do longbow normally.
If they're an elf, they can.
If they're an elf, they can.
I'm just, I mean, for the sake of like people that hide, if you have a party that likes to use a lot of stealth mechanics, there is a the
but
fact
then
that
I feel like a lot of the time though, you let party members do it for free anyway. Like I a lot of the games that I've been a part of or seen, like a lot of GMs will just be like, "Can I make a stealth or can I make a perception check?" And it's just like, yeah, and it's like it won't necessarily cost them an action.
In my games, it's an action.
Yeah.
So action economy is action economy. The fact that it can do that without using an action is helpful, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's not well used, but
yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. I feel like most campaigns don't use like they're just like, yo, give me a perception check, and it won't necessarily be an action to do it.
I feel like I know, but if it's in the middle of a fight,
if it's in the middle of
written, it is a perception.
Yeah, you're right. Technically speaking, rules.
That's all I'm talking about.
It would be an action.
Yeah,
but but either way, but that in essence, that is the adult green dragon right there. And once again, I think we've said this before. Like you would have to homebrew it a little bit, but adult green dragons are gonna know magic. Like they're gonna be able to do some other tricky, crazy kind of shit, along with just already their fat, meaty like stat block here.
And there's already, there's spellcasting rules for like dragons. I would say the baseline for it is not fantastic.
No,
but you can always bump it up, or if you get to the ancient is when it really shines. So
yeah, for sure.
You can always tweak what spells they know.
I mean, that's always the best thing about 5e is its vast flexibility and being able to incorporate stuff in its simplicity in a lot of ways. I want to touch upon another adult of the same CR, but one that's also a little bit new that maybe not a lot of people might know about unless specifically they read Fizban's Treasury to Dragons, and that is the Moonstone Dragon. Moonstone Dragons have an armor class of 19, same as the green. They have 195 hit points, a little bit lower, a walking speed of 40 and a flying speed of 80. They have a 20 in strength, 18 in dex, 20 in con, 22 in intelligence, 20 in wisdom, and 23 in charisma. That is an incredible stat array right there. Like just, oh God, again, just think about compared to the others, like that's crazy, especially all around just above average everything. Like dex is the only thing below 20, and that's just stupid. They have saving throws, interestingly enough, in intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, which again, not a lot of things have proficiency in intelligence saving throws. They have skills in perception, persuasion, and stealth. They're immune to the charm condition, as well as they have blind sight to 60 and 120 feet of dark vision like the others. They can, however, speak Common, Draconic, Elvish, Gnomish, and Sylvan.
Well, that comes from their Feywild background.
Indeed it does, Samuel. That comes from their Feywild origins, and we'll talk about that in just a second. They also get 3 legendary resistances a day, as well as 3 legendary actions per round. They also get tail, bites, claw attacks, and they have 2 separate breath weapons that they can utilize. 2. Count them, 2, like the metallics. They have dream breath. The dragon exhales mist in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 18 con save or fall unconscious for 10 minutes.
That's pretty good.
This effect ends for a creature. The creature takes damage or someone uses an action to wake it. Again, it's basically like it's just sleep breath,
bigger.
but a little bit bigger. And how long does the sleep breath? Is it 1 hour for sleep breath or just a minute for sleep breath?
I think it's a minute.
So I think it lasts for literally 10 times as long.
Well, I'll check really quick. But
yeah, just go to the brass dragon real quick. Brass dragon, sleep breath.
Where is it?
It's 10 minutes. Sleep breath is also 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically the same as sleep breath, but just far bigger than the normal sleep breath. Then they also have moonlight breath. The dragon exhales a beam of moonlight in a 90-foot line that is 10 feet wide, which is normally like
Normally
again,
five. I think it's
bigger.
normally
It's 5 feet. Yeah, it's only
yeah.
5 feet wide for a line attack. So they just have like a bigger area effect for their breath attacks. It is also a DC 18, but it's the deck save, and they take 9d10 or 49 on average radiant damage on a failed save or half on a success. They also, like gem dragons, which they're obviously moonstones, similar in a way, gain spell casting traits. They have a spell save of DC 19. That's pretty freaking high. They can cast Fairy Fire at will, as well as Calm Emotions, Invisibility, and Revivify once a day.
With no material components.
No material components. They can just do it. So they can just revive a thing or a party member or a person.
My favorite play is they can do that as a
day.
legendary action. So they don't even have to do it on their turn.
Yeah, no, because they, again, as Sammy said, legendary actions, they get 3 a turn. They can either make a tail attack or they can cast a spell, which casts 2 or which costs 2 legendary actions. So they can Fairy Fire endlessly as a legendary action. They can just keep trying to do it. I don't know if a lot of you know. I don't know if we highlighted Fairy Fire in our spells MetaTalks episode, but Fairy Fire can be just busted at times. It literally, and like, what is it? Is it a 20-foot radius?
Yeah,
or something like that.
No,
20 foot square. Is it?
Yeah,
so the cube. It's like a 20-foot
square.
Cube.
Yeah.
It's like a 20. It's like a 20-foot cube, I believe. Like 20-foot cube area, where you have to make a deck save, and if you fail it, you as well as everything else in that area begin
lit up like a Christmas tree,
shine brightly from like fairy sparkles and stuff. And you essentially cannot be invisible. You can't hide, I don't believe. And everything has advantage on attacks against you for the duration.
Yeah.
Like, that's just busted. And it can do this at will. It's a great legendary action.
It's a great anti-invisibility. It's basically the antithesis to invisibility.
I mean, not even just invisibility. Even the constant advantage is like...
I meant just the spell in general.
The spell in general is just a great. It's a perfect setup for your rogues, for your paladins, for even your hexblade warlocks. Like anything that can get those, like, that you're maybe crit fishing for. Like Fairy Fire just busted up. But yeah, that is an adult Moonstone Dragon, which, as you can see, compared to some of its counterparts, is vastly more powerful even at this level. Or not vastly, but still, like,
it's a different kind of power.
It's discernibly more powerful. Again, more area of effect for their breath weapons and like length for their breath weapons. They've got lower stats overall, like in terms of health, but all of their things are like their baseline stats and everything. Their bonuses are higher per capita. They have a little bit more. They have like 1 extra skill proficiency. Like, these dudes are cool. And as Sammy said before, ancient legends suggest that when the gods first came to the world and tried to populate with their humanoid followers, a clever dragon fled to the Feywild to hide a clutch of eggs. And the magic of that fairy realm suffused the eggs, which hatched into the first Moonstone dragons. Their descendants are now found throughout the Feywild. These are Feywild-based dragons, not just like the fairy dragons, which we'll probably also talk about a little bit. They are similar to pseudo dragons, which is cool. But these things introduced in Fizzbands are super cool. Like, even again, this just shows, even if you have a campaign taking place in the Feywild, you can still introduce dragons even native to that plane to incorporate into your campaign if you would like. Like, that's just fantastic. It's awesome. Let's see. Any other dragons in the adult category you want to touch upon real quick first?
Because I'm not sure if this will continue. I do want to touch on what the dragon turtle has become.
I think dragon turtle gets further on, like is kind of part of the ancient.
Well, so that's the funny thing, is it actually touches upon that.
Okay.
So these are the same, it's the same CR as, so like, it's just under the ancients, and just it's the same thing as like the adult red, adult gold.
Okay, 17.
Yeah, so its size is larger, as has been the theme with dragon turtles. In the first line, it's dragon turtles are among the most fearsome creatures of the oceans, as large and voracious as the oldest of its land-based dragonkin. So these are ostensibly bigger than the normal adult dragons, but they are of the same ilk in terms of age range, difficulty, etc.
Indeed, no, you're right, because there is one above it that is But again, that one's closer to Great-wyrm status though.
So we get its natural armor is now 20. It has nearly 350 hit points, sitting at 341.
341.
It's pretty good. Speed 20, swim speed 40. These are large, not very fast moving creatures.
Oh, they're gargantuan size, to be specific.
Yeah, gargantuan.
They
So
are colossal.
they're like, a couple large ships.
They look like an island.
A small island.
They literally can be like just float on the water, and you can often mistake them. It's literally part of their background. Like they can be mistaken for small islands. These things.
Some cool parts. Their strength is now 25. They still have a baseline 10 dex, 20 con, and then 10 intelligence, 12 wisdom, 12 charisma. Their saving throws are dex, con, and wisdom. They have a resistance to fire damage, which is awesome.
Makes sense.
Dark vision of 120 feet. They've learned a new language. They now speak Aquan and Draconic. This is kind of tying into the fact that they're so large and prolific that they sometimes end up finding their way into the plane of water.
Oh yeah, 100%. They are 100%.
Yeah. They have a 3-attack multi-attack, so 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws. It can make 1 a tail attack in place of its 2 claw attacks. Its steam breath is now larger, being a 60-foot cone, DC 18 con save, taking 15 d6 or 52 on average. The reality is these are just ginormous creatures. And again, they're smart enough that it even puts in here that they're smart enough to be bribed by pirates. So you can ostensibly, Pirate Cove, stuff like that, have a dragon turtle that circles around it, and when people get too close, they just sink all day.
Oh yeah, all day, and it'll be like, you can make deals with them because again, most dragons are smart enough to like communicate, and again, a lot of their biggest like desires or goals is to hoard gold.
And my favorite thing is they are now big enough that they have their own layers.
Yes,
these are like dragons now have layers with layer mechanics. My favorite part about these is that they don't make themselves a new layer. They find a cave and they kill it.
They just kill it. I mean, again, why would you make your own layer when you can just take an already pre-established one, as well as potentially anything else in there currently? You know what I mean?
They also, if you give them innate spell casting, they have like control water and fog cloud, which can be
maybe even like fun. Call lightning, similar like a kraken.
Flavor wise, in terms of how this thing would take down a ship, it would control water, make you stop moving, cover you in a fog cloud, and then approach from underneath and destroy the hull of your ship.
It would just crash. Crash the inside, just like, and then like let the water fill up the bottom.
It's pretty awesome. And this is almost.
Or they would just jump out of the water and then slam their huge body on you.
Yeah, in CR alone, they are almost to the lower ancient regular dragons.
Oh yeah, no, they're up there with the highest of the red and gold dragon. Yeah, the red and gold. They compete with them. They don't have, ironically, you know what? And we'll just talk about the red and gold real quick. For the adults, or actually we'll talk about the red for the adults.
Yeah.
Because again, the adult red dragon has stats that are also pretty freaking bonkers at this level. See, comparatively to the dragon turtle, an adult red dragon is also huge dragon. Although the dragon turtle is gargantuan, as we said. He has a 19 armor class, 256 hit points, so not nearly as the same amount as the dragon turtle, but still quite bulky and
much faster.
Indeed. And he's much faster. He has a 40-foot walking, 40-foot climb, and 80-foot fly speed. He has a strength, however, of 27, a dex of 10, and a con of 25, an intelligence of 16, a wisdom of 13, and a charisma of 21. So that right there. Strength of 27, and he's not even fully grown yet. He's not done. That in and of itself shows you how insane that he's as strong as a cloud giant. Like, and you see how big they are. Like that, like this. And again, how big is a gargantuan dragon turtle? And he's technically stronger than it, even being at a smaller size. Are you kidding me? That's insane. That's crazy. But that's just the raw, like, elemental natural power of the red and also gold dragon. He gets all the same kind of like saving throws as usual: dex, con, wisdom, and charisma. perception and stealth for their skills, immunity to fire, all the good sight stuff. We already talked about that. His dragon breath, however, now his fire breath is a 60-foot cone of fire, obviously, with a DC of 21 at this level. That is exceedingly hard to pass for any, like, again, fighting a CR17, again, your players are probably going to be anywhere from like level 9 to maybe like 12 or so, I would say, if not a bit higher. So they'll have pretty decent like bonuses for sure to their saves, but even so, 21, like on average, you still got a pretty high chance of failing that. And if you do fail, you're going to take 18 D6 with 63 on average fire damage on a failed save or half on a success. Like, that is bazonkers, bro. Like, and again, we're not even done. We're technically only like halfway through at this point, literally. And so we'll go ahead. We'll just go ahead. We'll move on to the semi-final, the penultimate point that a lot of people at first believed was kind of like the zenith of dragonkind, but in fact is not. The ancient dragons. So, ancient dragons once more have bumped up quite a bit at this point. Which one would you like to talk about first, Sammy?
I was thinking we'd check in with how our gem dragons are doing.
Nice, I like that too. Well, let's see. You want to talk about the topaz? Why not? We'll talk about the topaz, because I think the topaz is one of the weaker ones, indeed. Oh no, actually, the crystal is the weakest. Let's talk about the crystal dragon.
Talk about the crystal dragon. So it's gonna be some of the
Poor
stats are kind of
crystal
similar.
dragon.
Yeah, poor guy. He has an armor class of 20, hit points of 222, speed so a little bit tankier than the red, but really not much of the last iteration of the red dragon.
Yeah. The adult.
40-foot speed, 40-foot burrowing, 40-foot climb, 80-foot flying, strength of 25, dex of 12, con of 26, intelligence of 20, wisdom of 16, charisma of 21.
Now,
same saving throws.
Pay attention to this too. Is like even at this ancient level, this dragon still has stats like below 20. Like, that's not gonna be a normal kind of theme for the rest of them.
For some of them,
like for the highest ones, like it. Yeah.
They get perception, stealth, and survival, resistance to cold and radiant. They have 60-foot blind sight, 120-foot dark vision. They speak common, draconic, and have telepathy. They have the legendary resistances like before. Multi-attack just like before. They have scintillating breath, which is the dragon exhales a burst of brilliant radiance in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 22 con save, taking 11d8 or 49 on average radiant damage, or half as much damage on a successful one. And the dragon gains 25 temporary hit points by absorbing a portion of the radiant energy. It does have innate psionic spellcasting with a spell save of 19. So at will, it has dancing light and guidance. Once a day for command, divination, greater restoration, hypnotic pattern, and invisibility. For bonus actions, it can change its shape. So magically transforms into any creature that is medium or small while retaining its game statistics other than its size. This transformation ends if the dragon is reduced to 0 hit points or uses a bonus action to end it. Now, because of this, it retains its game statistics. I would argue that a dragon could be a person and let off a dragon breath while still in human form.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have a spell that can literally allow you to do that. I don't see why.
I find it awesome.
Because it
says you retain your game statistics
other than its size. That's the only thing. So it still has its 25 strength, its 26 con, its 20 intelligence. Like,
this would be ostensibly one of the best fighters a kingdom could ever have, and they would never know it's a dragon. It also has psychic step. The dragon magically teleports to an unoccupied space you can see within 60 feet of it.
Freaking bonkers. It can just literally
better
it can
than
far
Misty
step.
Step.
Yeah, it's far
Yeah.
step. It's a
It
little
has
far
its-
step that you don't have to concentrate on.
It has its legendary actions. So for 1, it can make a claw attack. For 2, it can use its psionics, being its psychic step or spell casting. And for 3 action points, the dragon releases a searing beam of starlight at a creature it can see within 60 feet of it. The targets must succeed on a DC 19 dexterity saving throw or take 11 d6 or 38 radiant damage. Now,
Starlight strikes.
yeah, these are pretty awesome.
They're pretty cool.
Even at the low end of ancient.
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say, like, this is
I would
lower
love to use these as like NPCs.
Yeah.
Not enemies, but other.
Yeah, no, it'd be great to have like support, kind of just like I feel like, again, here's the thing, right? What's cool about the fact that some of these are kind of just inherently maybe weaker than some of the rest is you can have these dragons literally like support your party in fighting like a stronger evil dragon like opponent, which is phenomenal. So yeah, you have like an ancient crystal dragon who like by itself would probably have no real chance of defeating like, you know, an ancient red or an ancient like shadow dragon or whatever. But with the help of the party, it's like, yeah, you can do some other stuff. It could support them. It could give, you know, it can cast greater restoration, invisibility, hypnotic pattern, guidance on your party, command, whatever. Like it has such great supportive kind of stuff, as well as other things where you just have like, you know, a dope, and you can even have at one point like a dope kind of kaiju fight where they're doing that, while maybe the party is trying to like accomplish some other like side goal in the thing to like maybe weaken the dragon or something. Like these other dragons play great for that. They also can just be great for like maybe if a dragon isn't like your penultimate like or your ultimate foe or big bad evil guy, like you could basically be like, this is like a stepping stone to get to him, right?
Yeah.
He sicks this dragon on your party, and if your party is again like a party of like, you know, level 14s to like 16 or more, you'll be able to take this guy down pretty not easily, but without like a huge issue or problem really at that point. And then you should be able to like move around, or you could, again, on the opposite side, you could have this be like the mount of the big bad evil guy, where he's riding on top of it while fighting you guys and has all this stuff. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What do I want to? I honestly at this point, I think we should also just highlight a lot of them, because it's also where this is the dragon type most people are going to be using, I think, a lot of the time. Like, because this is for most campaigns the ultimate version of a dragon that you'll be utilizing, because the next version is drastically more powerful and quite the campaign ender in a lot of ways. But so we'll touch upon a number of them at this point, because it's also where they get all their like best stuff too. So the ancient deep dragon has evolved a little bit as well in this time. He is, interestingly enough, he is the lowest ranked CR of all of these like true dragon types. Ironically, there is an ancient version of the sea snake or the sea serpent, but we don't really talk about it. Nothing really different there, but they are much lower. But the ancient deep dragon is a CR 18 creature with an armor class of 20, hit points of 201, 40-foot walking speed, 40-foot burrow, 80-foot flying, and 40-foot swimming. It has 23 in strength, 16 in dex, 20 in con, 19 in intelligence, 18 in wisdom, and 21 in charisma. Has the usual saving throws as well as skill proficiencies, except with persuasion is also added. Resistance to poison psychic as before, which is interesting. It's not immunity at this point. I would have expected it to have been like immunity. Because I believe interesting. Cold and radiant. I thought all the gym dragons were specifically resistant to psychic, but I suppose not. The crystal dragon was not. Nor is it immune, actually. That is interesting. But yeah, it has the ancient deep dragon has condition immunities for charm, frightened, and poison, blind sight to 60 feet, and a whopping 300 feet for dark vision at this level. It also knows common, draconic, and undercommon at this point, which makes sense. It also gains the ability to change shape, much like the ancient crystal dragon, meaning it keeps all of its statistics, but can be a medium or smaller creature. And its nightmare breath has indeed become quite nightmarish in that the dragon exhales a cloud of spores in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in the area must make a DC 19 wisdom save. On a failed save, taking 9d10 or 49 on average psychic damage, and is frightened of the dragon for 1 full minute. On a success, the creature takes half damage with no additional effects, and a creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns. Its legendary actions, you get commanding spores. Dragon releases spores around a creature within 30 feet of it that it can see, and the target must make, again, a DC 19 wisdom saving throw or use its reaction to make a melee weapon attack against a random creature within reach. If no creatures are within reach or the target can't take a reaction, it takes 2d10 or 11 psychic damage. That right there is pretty scary, actually, because you can just start having your players attack one another, or they'll just take damage continued if they can't attack one another. It also gets a tail attack, as well as at the cost of 2 legendary actions, you can use your Spore Salvo. The dragon releases poisonous spores around a creature within 30 feet of it that it can see, and the target must succeed on a DC 19 con save or take 8d6 or 28 poison damage and become poisoned for 1 minute. That, oh my god, dude, just the constant like spores, like this is just a menace. Like, even though he's the lowest CR of all of these guys, like he has all the, like, one of the most annoying, aggravating mechanics of any game, whether it be this, video games, whatever else, are passive effects.
I love these though, because
I do too. I love them.
They have like the weird fungi and like,
oh yeah, no, the deep dragons are so, like, again, underdark dragons. Like
we love the Underdark. We love the Underdark.
We love the Underdark. It's fantastic. All the little crazy, weird, macabre shit down there is phenomenal. But this, like, again, any creature or any enemy that can just passively deal you damage it doesn't have to actively, just passively does. Like, those are always some of the most powerful and dangerous enemies in any game that you play. And the fact that, again, on legendary actions, it can literally use both Spore Salvo and Commanding Spores every round at once. And then on top of that, if it recharges, it can use its Nightmare Breath. And if you're like, you can be under the effect of all these different things at one point. Like, it's just, and then on top of it, it could, attack. It can change shape. Like, this thing would be an absolute menace to deal with if run correctly. Let's see, what other things should we touch upon here? Let's talk about the ancient silver dragon.
I can talk about it. I can talk about an ancient silver dragon.
Ancient silver dragon action, because that's going to be another one of the probably the most prolific dragons that most players will encounter in like campaigns and the like, due to their personalities.
All right,
so we'll go ahead and hit the ancient silver.
We're going to talk about ancient silver dragon. That's a gargantuan dragon of lawful good alignment. Has an armor class of 22, hit points of 487, fly speed of 40. Walking speed of 40, fly speed of 80. It has 30 strength, 10 dex, 29 con, 18 intelligence, 15 wisdom, and 23 charisma. Normal saving throws. It has skills in Arcana, History, Perception, and Stealth. It is immune to cold damage. Has a blind sight of 60 feet, dark vision of 120. Speaks Common and Draconic. Legendary resistance, yes. Legendary actions, same as the kind of wing attack, tail attack, detect. Frightful presence. It has claw, bite, tail. All of those are the same. It has 2 different breath weapons. It has a cold breath, which is a 90-foot cone. Each creature must make a 24 DC con save or take 15 D8 or 67 cold damage, or half on a successful, or a paralyzing breath, which is also a 90-foot cone, also a 24 con save, or be paralyzed for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. Obviously, that means it can be reparalyzed. It also has the change shape, like the other dragons. However,
this one though, it's literally polymorph now.
Yeah, this one now polymorphs into a human or beast that has a challenge rating no higher than its own, or back into its true form. It reverts to its true form if it dies. Any equipment it is wearing or carrying is absorbed or borne by the new form, which means it can basically make itself, like, the way I like to play silver dragons, especially ancient ones, is that they are ostensibly like high priests in big religious orders, where like when they become a human, they choose what they look like down to all of their items, which
Oh,
means
absolutely.
if it's
They
collected
literally make
magical
a
items,
persona, a real
like,
persona.
if it's collected magical items over its long life as an ancient dragon, which is now well over 1,000 years old, it would have those items with it, which I love that kind of flavor. These are, I mean, these are very powerful old monsters.
Oh yeah, no. Again, and specifically silvers are like they are only one step down from gold and reds at this point. Like they are up there with, you know, blues. Like blues are really the only other ones that can kind of contend with them. For the most part, at least canonically speaking. But again, that paralyzing breath, holy mackerel, that thing, you can literally like a DC 24 save on that. Again, paralysis is one of the most powerful conditions in the game because again, just paralyzes you for a full minute and without having to concentrate, and just walks up and can literally just crit, 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 crit. Like, what are you gonna do, bro? Like, it'll literally just be able to rip you to shreds with that. However, obviously with its shape change too, even though it does says it polymorphs, in its new form, it does retain its alignment, hit points, hit dice, ability to speak, proficiencies, legendary resistance, lair actions, and intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores, as well as the action. So it's basically like physical is the only thing that's different. So unlike the others who have shape change, it doesn't retain like its physical abilities. It does take the physical attributes of whatever form it takes. But still, dude, silver dragons are great. We love them. They're some of the best dragons ever because they can kind of just be almost anywhere. Like you can almost encounter a silver dragon anywhere, and it will never be like considered really that like out of the ordinary or strange or whatever because
I
they're
love their spell picks for its spell casting. If you want to
oh
do it.
yeah.
Beacon of Hope, Calm Emotions, Hold Person, Polymorph, Teleport, Zone of Truth.
Oh yeah. No, I mean they're all perfect and they all work so well. Like it's like, you know, they're silver dragons are kind of like peacekeepers and you know, they are the true people that like they are the most widely recognized and of like being like the nicest slash truly social of dragons in terms of like, you know, they are the least arrogant of all the
They're
dragons.
also like it says in their kind of bio, they enjoy companionship of intelligent people, particularly when those folk have no idea as to
that
the dragon's true
dragons.
identity.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. And obviously, Alastor and Elias will talk more about their whole personality and shtick in a different video. Let's see here. What other dragons should we touch upon? Let's just kind of go through them and like check out the others that we haven't talked about in terms of any particular abilities that they gain apart from their draconic kin. I'm looking at the ancient topaz dragon. It has one particular ability known as Fabricate that it can do once a day. The dragon can cast the spell Fabricate, requiring no spell components, and uses intelligence as the ability modifier. So basically, it can kind of just like literally form. And while Fabricate is kind of a shit spell, it's still cool that this dragon can kind of just do that like once a day. And like you have a topaz dragon come to the party and you're going to be like, oh, you need something that isn't like, you know, maybe super important or big. I can craft or fabricate this thing for you. Heck, you could even say because it's an ancient topaz, it can just craft whatever the freaking party needs. It can go beyond that. It can just be like, I as an innate dragon can just do this thing for you, unlike others. Topaz dragons, though, which is a cool part about them, is that they are specifically attuned to the necrotic elemental spectrum. So topaz dragons are necrotic specifically, and so they have resistance to both cold and necrotic damage, as well as their breath weapon is known as desiccating breath. The dragon exhales yellowish necrotic energy in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 20 con save. The creature takes 14d6 or 49 on average necrotic damage and is weakened until the end of its next turn. Which is basically the same as the gold dragon's weakened breath. Let's see. It also obviously has psionics for its spell casting. Its spell save is DC 19. It can cast Anti-Life Shell, Bane, control water, or create or destroy water. That's pretty good. Like Anti-Life Shell and Bane are both pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, we can touch on maybe like some things that have been improved for some of the dragons. For example, the solar dragon got some new stuff, being ancient. Aside from general stat increases, hit points, etc., it is now immune to radiant and blinded condition. It can't have its mind read, as it has the nebulous thoughts ability. It deals double damage to objects and structures. And now what was the photonic breath is now, as opposed to 120 feet, it is 240 feet point away from them. And it's a 40 foot radius sphere. So that's 80 feet across.
Jesus, that's a sun. It's literally a small
Each creature in the sphere must make a DC 23 con save, taking 12d10 or 66 radiant damage.
Oh my.
So this is ostensibly a siege engine.
Yeah.
A mobile siege engine. It also has the ability to, its legendary actions. I don't know, did it have Burst of Light before? The 30-foot radius light sphere centered on itself?
No, not when we talked about it before.
Okay, so the dragon emits a magical light in a 30-foot radius sphere centered on itself. Each creature in this area must succeed on a DC 23 wisdom saving throw or be blinded until the end of its next turn.
Good lord.
So it has its own self-defense mechanism when you get close to it.
Yeah.
And it can shoot you from 204. Technically, it's 280 feet out because it can hit at a point 40 feet away from you and hit you on the edge of the radius.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, it's 240 and then an extra
40. Because the point has to be at the center.
Oh, you're right.
It can hit something at
280 feet away
275 feet, ostensibly. So this thing can bomb ships from like...
It doesn't matter. Like, they can't even see it coming. Like, even if you are somehow faster than this creature, it doesn't matter.
The breath takes 6 seconds, so it just chooses the point and it explodes.
If it recharges, it could take potentially longer, but
like in reality, this thing is a menace to society, bro, and we love it.
Oh my lord,
we love it a lot.
Jesus, bro. Okay, well, let's switch over to the lunar then real quick and see what our boy here has gotten since we last left them. It's got an armor class of 18. It's got a 297 hit points. So was there anything else for the solar, or was that all of it?
No, I think that's all. I was just looking for new things. I wasn't going off all the stats.
Yeah, speed 40 feet. Let's see what else you got. Tunneler, yep. Multi-attack, cold breath, phase.
So it has more phases.
Yeah, it does have more phases, and legendary action. It gets treacherous ice as a legendary action. Magical ice covers the ground in a 20-foot radius centered on a point the dragon can see within 120 feet of itself. The ice, which is difficult terrain for all creatures except lunar dragons, lasts for 10 minutes or until the dragon uses another legendary action again.
This legendary action?
Yeah, this legendary action again.
I don't think it had wing attack last time either.
I thought it did because it had wings, but maybe not. Either way, I mean, this is okay. It's not, the breath weapon is a 90-foot cone now, basically kind of the same as most others. Probably the same as like the white dragon or even the silver. But this didn't get much more of a buff really as the solar did. Let's check out the moonstone real quick and see what they've gotten. If anything.
I think, well, it's actually not too different. The breath is longer, but that's about it.
90 cone. Yeah, they got 330 hit points.
It gains
now.
Dispel magic.
Wow, that's pretty. And yeah, 2 times a day now.
And 2 times a day.
Yeah, and it gains Dispel magic. That's jeez.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty good. No. Let's see what else we got here. Topaz, Dragon, Solar. Let's see what the Sapphire can give us in terms. Sapphire gets Spider Climb, which is cool. Let's see, Debilitating Breath. Sapphire, I do believe they're Thunder. I believe. Yeah, they are the Thunder Dragon variant. So they embody light thunder and stuff. So their breath weapon would be Debilitating Breath. It exhales a pulse of high-pitched, nearly inaudible sound in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in the area must make a DC 23 con save or take 10d10 or 55 on average thunder damage, and it is incapacitated until the end of its next turn. On a success, the creature takes damage and isn't incapacitated. Holy shit, dude!
That's bogus.
That's just dumb.
Incapacitated. That's rough,
bro. I mean, it's the same as like paralyzed. Like again, like arguably, like, oh my god, it's like, yeah, it's the same as, and again, you don't save from it. You're incapacitated until the end of the dragons.
You can save if you save on the breath weapon. You are not incapacitated.
No, that's what I'm saying though. If you fail though, if you get incapacitated, you're just there until the end of the dragon's next turn. So if he hits the entire party, and all of them somehow fail. It's a DC 23, so it's not gonna be a small chance.
No.
If they all fail, you're just and it'll just go, and it can crit you. It can just be like dead. Like
I mean, even you look at its spells, which is still obviously they're only once a day each, but Dissonant Whispers, Hold Monster, Meld into Stone, Telekinesis and Teleport.
Bro, what the shit? All right, and we got legendary actions. We have Telekinetic Fling with a cost of all 3 legendary actions. The dragon chooses one medium or smaller object that isn't being worn or carried that it can see within 60 feet of it, and it magically yeets or hurls the object at a creature it can see within 60 feet of the object. The target must succeed on a DC 20 dex save or take 12d6 or 42 points of bludgeoning damage. Good Lord.
Which, if you wanted to auto fail, you just make sure you hit him with the incapacitated breath first.
Literally. You just have, I mean, because it literally just be like, because you could do it twice if you wanted to. You could literally go like, you could literally hit them with the breath. They would take that thunder damage, become incapacitated. Then you would move, or I guess maybe that would be the end of your turn. Then it would be their turn. They'd be incapacitated. And at the end of their turn, you could just be like, oh, I hit you with this thing now. Oh my goodness. That's just ridiculous.
Let's see. Anybody else who really just
we haven't talked about the bronze bronze or blue at the moment.
Yeah, they're not okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. They're pretty like the blue dragon. It's just like it's the most basic.
Yeah,
there's no special thing.
They're super basic. I mean, their hit points are 481. So
they're beefy, but they don't have any special abilities. They're literally
they don't get anything more.
Wing attack.
Same thing for bronze. Bronze gets repulsion breath, however, which is cool. The dragon exhales repulsion energy in a 30-foot coin. Each creature in the area, 30-foot cone. Each creature in the area must succeed on a DC 23 strength save. On a failed save, the creature is pushed 60 feet away from the dragon. So again, depending on where you're fighting a dragon, once again, if you're like up in the air or if you're like on a cliff or something fighting a dragon, they just repulse breaths you away. It literally Fus Rodas you off of a mountain. This dragon is the Dragonborn from Skyrim. That's pretty cool. Let's see. All right. I don't think there's you know what? Since we got to do it, let's go ahead and just talk about again, since we'll be going pretty soon into the next tier, the final kind of tier. Let's go ahead and talk about the lower kind of tier. Or you know what? Let's just talk about the 2 strongest here first before we move on. Just to showcase what's the pinnacle of like ancient. Which would be the gold and red dragon. Since the next tier basically just incorporates like all the different ones, like depending on which sub race they are. So at the pinnacle of essentially draconic kind, the strongest that you can get at this age for the golds and the reds is going to be, they have an armor class of 22, a hit points of 546, speed of 40 feet walking, 80 feet flying, and 40 feet swimming for the ancient gold dragon. They have strength of 30, a dex of 14, a con of 29, an intelligence of 18, a wisdom of 17, and a charisma of 28. Whew. Ancient gold dragons have skills in insight, perception, persuasion, and stealth. So that's kind of the first we've seen that they have like a total of 4 overall. They have immunity to fire, the usual blind sight and dark vision. Speak draconic and common. They are amphibious, so they can breathe air and water. Let's see. They are fire dragons, so they get their fire breath. Their fire breath is a 90-foot cone, a DC of 24 dex to save from, and you will take on average 71 points of fire damage. That's 13d10 that you roll for this breath weapon here. Their weakening breath, same thing, 90-foot cone, DC 24 for strength, and you will just, for a full minute, you have disadvantage on strength-based attack rolls, checks, and saving throws. But you can repeat the save at the end of your turn. They also get the shape change ability as well, same as the silver dragon. But that is kind of the pinnacle stats of your ancient dragon there. No ancient dragon is going to be higher.
Yeah, the only difference with the red dragon is the breath is 26d6, so an average of 91.
Yeah.
And they don't get the shape change.
No, they don't get the shape change. They don't get the weakening breath
or the being able to swim.
Yeah, or the swim speed. Do they get climb speed? Yeah,
it's basically the same thing, except their breath does more.
Yeah, the fire breath of the fire dragon is even more. Although again, against a gold dragon, it doesn't mean anything. But
same both ways.
Yeah, but again, like it's like that's the red dragon's fire breath deals an average of 91 points of fire damage. Oh my god! Like it could deal a total. It could deal a total of how much? 156 points of damage. I think that's the max that an ancient red dragon's fire breath can deal. 156 points of damage because it's 26 times 6.
156, yeah.
Yeah. Like that's insane. Oh my god. That would one shot like most like level 20 wizards or sorcerers or potentially even like druids, like freaking rogues. Good god. All right. I
think we'll continue our thing going with the weakest of the next tier.
Yeah. Like this is, and technically speaking, ironically, even though this says ancient, this really is more part of the next tier, which the next tier would be ostensibly the Great-wyrm tier. However, I do want to touch upon specifically what would be probably considered the real lowest would be the ancient dragon turtle first. The ancient
where is the ancient dragon?
Should be up at the beginning. It's if you just type in ancient, it's literally part again of the ancient thing. But its CR is 24, like the ancient gold and the ancient red. And interestingly enough, even though like this is kind of in terms of dragon turtle, it is closer. It is literally a mythic creature. This creature specifically comes
with mythic actions.
Yeah, with mythic actions. Even though it's still technically on the same tier as the ancient red and ancient gold, if not even technically slightly below, because its armor class is going to be 22, same as the others, but its hit points are only going to be 409. Interestingly enough, it has a swim speed, or it has a walking speed of 30 and a swim speed of 60. So it's finally gotten a little bit faster at this point, at this size and age. It has a strength of 28, a dex of 12, a con of 29, an intelligence of 14, and a wisdom of 19, and a charisma of 15. It has saving throws of, interestingly, it has a dex save, proficiency with dex saves, constitution saves, and wisdom saves. So I'm sorry, I don't even know how it could possibly be proficient in a dex save. That seems ridiculous. I would have to say it'd have to be strength, if anything else.
Nope, it's dex.
Totally weird. It has perception for its proficiency and skills, and immunity to fire and cold damage, which is a huge thing. This boy just don't take none of that. He's also immune to the charmed, frightened, and poison condition. It has true sight out to 120 feet, which in some cases can be positive and detrimental, depending. But that is a huge thing. You can't fool him with any kind of magic or illusions with true sight. It also gets Blessing of the Sea, recharges after a short or long rest. This thing right here is like mythic creatures. Like mythic creatures get these specific things kind of known like as their mythic states. And they function very similarly to what, in essence, I would say is basically akin to a second phase. Like if you ever played Dark Souls or anything else, any kind of video game that has like bosses that have like multiple phases, this is essentially D&D's answer to that. And the ancient dragon turtle's mythic state is known as Blessing of the Sea. If the dragon turtle would be reduced to 0 hit points, so that means if you deal 409 points of damage to it, its current hit point total instead resets to 350 hit points. It instantly recharges its steam breath if it didn't already. And additionally, the dragon turtle can now use the options and the mythic action section for 1 hour. Now, If the party is able to defeat the dragon turtle, even after it uses its Blessing of the Sea traits, you may award the party an additional 62,000 XP, 124,000 total for defeating the dragon turtle after it uses its Blessing of the Sea. This is when we start to get, this is like in-game 20th level kind of encounters here, where these things are just busted and broken. It already gets 3 legendary resistances per day, as well as 3 legendary actions.
It no longer has to eat or drink.
It no longer has to eat or drink because it has achieved essentially a state of divinity. For its legendary actions, it has the ability to move as well now, like other dragons usually can fly. This one cannot kind of just not move now. The dragon turtle can move up to its speed. If it is swimming, this movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. So if it's in water, which it most likely will be, it can just get away from you at the end of another person's turn. It also has Boiling Aura for its legendary action, which costs 3 actions. The dragon turtle radiates intense heat until the start of the dragon turtle's next turn. Whenever a creature starts a turn within 20 feet of it, the creature must succeed on a DC 24 con save or take 98 or 40 points of fire damage on average. And being underwater doesn't grant resistance against this damage. Again, any creature that just can do passive damage to you is just bonkers. Now we finally get to the mythic actions. It can also, if the dragon turtle's Blessing of the Sea is activated, it can use the options below as legendary actions as well. So now the dragon turtle can actually use its bite as a legendary action instead of just a claw or tail, because the bite does quite a bit of damage as compared to the others. But it also gets access to what is known as Armor of Storms. At the cost of 2 legendary actions, lightning temporarily surrounds the dragon turtle, and it gains 40 temporary hit points until the start of its next turn. Until all of these hit points are gone, any creature that touches the dragon turtle or hits it with a melee attack takes 4d12 or 26 points of lightning damage. They don't make a save. They don't resist. If you attack it or touch it, you take 26 points of lightning damage, or you take 12 points of lightning damage.
I love it.
It gains 40 temporary hit points on top of its already 350 hit points it got back.
I love it.
Fudge,
I also love the fact that if you want to give it spells, it recommends giving it control weather.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. That absolutely tracks. Control weather, control water. Again, call lightning. Freaking heck, dude. I would think it would be hilarious. It would be unfair. Well, maybe not. If you gave it what is it called? Is it Wrath? Is it Storm of Vengeance? If you gave it the 9th level spell, Storm of Vengeance, and just had like the constant stuff above, as the dragon turtle is underwater below the effects, as this storm is raining down upon your party, like on top, they have to jump in the water after it to get out of the effect of it, or maybe depending on how low, because the dragon turtle can just go deep. It can literally do that and then just fire steam breath. Like, oh, that would be unfair. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That wouldn't be fair.
Sounds good. Sounds like a good time.
That wouldn't be fair. Don't do that.
Sounds like we're gonna test that out, Adam. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, that wouldn't be fair. It would be so cool. What an encounter. Oh my lord. It would literally just be like a god of the sea, just like, oh, I love it. I love it so much. Because I mean, again, to be fair, Storm of Vengeance is a super shitty 9th level spell. It is not good really at all. Its concentration, the amount of damage it deals is pretty abysmal unless somehow like your party is forced to again stay in the effect the entire duration. And even then, it's like, nah, again, you can still save. Like, I don't think it would be too bad. I think it'd be so cool. It would be so cool.
All right, I'll throw that at you, Adam.
It'd be so cool.
I love the dragon turtle. I am happy that he gets an ancient variety.
Yeah, no, again, Fizzban really did apply much of what all dragons needed. Like this, we were sorely in need of a real power boost to all of them. But you know what? Speaking of that, let me go ahead and head into the final true stage of every dragon's evolution and growth. the absolute true final pinnacle of draconic kind, the Great-wyrms. Now, I think Sam, like Sam was saying before, we can just start kind of going from weakest to strongest, because at this point, when you become a Great-wyrm, like it really only applies to what subrace of true dragon you are.
Yeah.
And specifically it's referring to gem, chromatic, and metallic. And these dragons, regardless, however, are utterly insane because they are truly godlike. If not even godlike, they are gods. They have achieved divinity, at the very least, demigod status, if not maybe even lesser deity, like Tiamat.
Well, yeah, kind of. I love the fact that it's still keeping with that boss mode theme.
Oh yeah.
So we'll go over it now.
Again, I'm mythic. Gonna start. These are mythic creatures. So not just legendary, mythic.
The gemworms, they don't get any mythic actions per se, but we'll go over it real quick. So armor class of 21, hit points 507, 60-foot speed, 60-foot burrow, a fly speed of 120 feet where they hover, and a swim speed of 60 feet. 28 strength, 14 dex, 29 con, 30 intelligence, 24 wisdom, 25 charisma. They still have the same saving throws. They have skills in arcana, history, and perception. They're immune to force and being charmed, frightened, poisoned, or prone. They have true sight out to 120 feet. They have, similar to the dragon turtle, it's called a gem awakening. If a Great-wyrm would be reduced to 0 hit points, its current hit point total resets to 400. It recharges its breath weapon, regains any expended uses of legendary resistance.
Oh my god.
Additionally, the Great-wyrm can now use its mass telekinesis action during the next hour. Similarly, you're going to reward the party an additional 90,000 XP. It has 4 legendary resistances. Doesn't need to eat or drink. It has multi-attacks with bite and claw. Its breath weapon is now a 300-foot cone. With a DC 25 dex save. On a failed save, the creature takes 11 d12 or 71 force damage and is knocked prone. On a success or failure, the creature... On a successful save, it takes half as much damage and isn't knocked prone. On a success or failure, the creature's speed becomes 0 until the end of its next turn.
So if you just get caught, you're just stuck. You're still just gonna be stuck and at the mercy of this thing.
All right, let's look at its gem awakening ability, mass telekinesis. The Great-wyrm targets any number of creatures and objects it can see within 120 feet of it. No one target can weigh more than 4,000 pounds, and objects can't be targeted if they're being worn or carried. Each targeted creature must succeed on a DC 16 strength saving throw. 26. God damn, DC I'm bad at reading. 26 strength save throw or be restrained in the Great-wyrm's telekinetic grip. At the end of a creature's turn, it can repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on itself on a success. At the end of the Great-wyrm's turn, it can move each creature or object it has in its telekinetic grip up to 60 feet in any direction, but not beyond 120 feet of itself. In addition, it can choose any number of creatures restrained in this way and deal 45 average of 12 force damage to each of them. The Great-wyrm next, it has psionics. It has some new spells. Dispel magic.
Spell save of 20, DC 26 and a plus 18 to hit with a spell attack.
We got Dispel Magic, Force Cage,
oh my god,
Reverse Gravity, or Time Stop.
Oh my god!
It does keep its chain shape and its psychic step. It does also still have the Claw and Psionic legendary actions, but it now has Psychic Beam. For 3 action, the Great-wyrm emits a beam of psychic energy in a 90-foot line that is 10 foot wide. Each creature in that area must make a DC 26 intelligence saving throw, taking 5d10 or 27 psychic damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful. Dude. So there is something that it can do here where it takes your entire party, because you're all grouped together, and it grips all of you, and you don't succeed because the save is 26. So he grabs you all, and he puts you all in a line. And then what he does is at the end of his turn, he then deals an average of 45 force damage to all of you. And then on the end of your first person's next turn, which they can't attack because they're a melee class, they're barbarian, they can't attack him because he's too far away, and they can't move because they're restrained. They fail their attempt to get out. So then what he does is he hits all of you with a psychic beam at the end of that first person's turn. Then you all get out, and guess what? He still has a breath weapon.
He does it again. He just
It's
of 300 feet.
it's awesome. It's like I don't
Dude,
like
I've read through these things multiple times, and every single time it just never fails to blow my freaking mind. Like, again, like you just said, the stuff, dude, he doesn't even have to, like, he just literally he uses his mass telekinesis. You guys can't get out of it. He casts Force Cage on all of you, and you're just stuck there now. Because you're in the Force Cage now. You can't get out because you have to. The only way to get out is by teleporting, and you still have to make a save to tell. You have to make a DC 26 save to get out of it. Any martial class with no ability to teleport is just stuck in there now. They're effectively out of the combat. There's nothing they can do.
There is one thing that makes me
unless
sad.
You have disintegrate. You can disintegrate the Force Cage.
Yeah, there's one thing that makes me sad is that all these Great-wyrms have intrinsically the same abilities now. The only difference being their immunities, and that's
their specific
their spells are now all
affinities.
the same.
Yeah.
But I mean, oh my gosh.
I get it, because a creature this powerful, it's like it just makes sense to give them like all the best kind of stuff, and making it too diverse might make it a bit more difficult and bogged down. But
you know,
because they're already so freaking powerful.
Here's the cool thing, Adam, is that you get to do the chromatic Great-wyrm and see what fun things they can get up to.
I can. You know what? Just because we both have a particular fondness for the black dragon, we'll do the black Great-wyrm. Just for fun. Because again, like we said, it doesn't really matter. All of these Great-wyrms basically have the same abilities and powers, just and even stats. It's just a difference of like their elemental affinity at this point. The chromatic black Great-wyrm has an armor class of 22, hit points of 533, so slightly more than the Gym Dragon Great-wyrm. It has a speed of 60 feet, walking, burrowing, and swimming, and a fly speed of 120, a strength of 30, a dex of 14, con of 30, a intelligence of 21, a wisdom of 20, and a charisma of 26. It has saving throws of dex, con, wisdom, and charisma, intimidation, perception, stealth, which is fair for its skills, immunity to acid damage, as well as immunity to charmed, frightened, and poisoned condition. It has true sight to 120 feet. Chromatic Awakening would be its mythic state. If the Great-wyrm would be reduces their hit points, its current hit point total instead of resets to 425 instead of 400, like for the Gym Dragon. Recharges its breath weapon and regains any expended uses of legendary resistances. Additionally, the Great-wyrm can now use its options in the mythic actions for 1 hour, and you will be awarded an additional 105,000 XP for a total of 210 for defeating the Great-wyrm after its chromatic awakening. Same as the Gym, 4 legendary resistances, doesn't require food or drink. Multi-attack for 1 bite and 2 claw attacks.
I just want to say real quick, their attacks also now do force damage.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous.
They deal force damage. And as before, if the target is huge or smaller, they're grappled if they get hit by a claw attack. And the escape DC is 20, and you're restrained until the grapple ends. Its breath weapon is now exhales a blast of energy in a 300-foot cone. Each creature in the area must make a DC 26 dex save, and on a failed save will take 12d12, 78 points of acid damage on average. And on a success, the creature takes half as much. So, legendary actions. You got your normal just attack as well as your wing attack, but you also have, just baseline, Arcane Spear at a cost of 3 actions. The Great-wyrm creates 4 spears of magical force, and each spear hits a creature of the Great-wyrm's choice within 120 feet of it, dealing 1d8 plus 8 or 12 on average force damage to the target, and it disappears. Now, note, there's no roll. There's no save. It can just hit you with a spear, with an arcane magical force spear within 120 feet. That if it can see you within 120 feet, and it will just deal 1d8 plus 8 force damage. It just gets that. Four different creatures, 4 separate creatures. And no, I take it back. Not even 4 separate. It could technically direct all 4 of these spears at one person if it wanted to. So it could technically deal 12, 24, 36, 42, or 48 points of damage to one creature if it wanted to, just on average. Like, what the shit? And then finally, it's mythic action, Chromatic Flare at the cost of 2 actions. The Great Worm flares with elemental energy, and each creature in a 60-foot radius, so that's 120 foot diameter, ladies and gentlemen, centered on the Great Worm must succeed on a DC 26 Dex save or take 5d8 or 22 on average points of acid damage. So again, that one not as crazy overall. Like again, the as you can see, the baseline kind of stats are higher than the Gem Dragon, but I would argue the Gem Dragon's like abilities are way more bonkers than the chromatic Great Worm. Again, that mass telekinesis bullcrap is just like, and then as well as its spells that it gets just inherently, like, oh my god. But even so, this is just stupid, bro.
Yeah, I found another stupid thing.
Go right ahead.
If we go into the metallic Great-wyrms.
Oh yes, please do. Let's see it. The which metallic do you
I'm
wanna,
on gold.
hit? Yeah, do the gold. Do the gold.
We have armor class of 22, hit points of 565, 60-foot walking, 60-foot burrowing, 60-foot swim, 120 feet of flying. We got 30 strength, 16 dex, 29 con, 21 intelligence, 22 wisdom, 30 charisma.
Oh my god.
Their saving throws are now dex, con, intelligent, wisdom, and charisma.
Almost all of them.
Only strength
2.
is missing.
Yeah.
They have insight, perception, and persuasion as their skills.
Yeah.
They're immune to fire, being charmed, frightened, or poisoned. Same true sight and everything else. They have the same 4 legendary resistances. The same whole like metallic. They have a metallic awakening, same as the chromatic awakening. So they have the same concept of, you know, when you get hit with a claw attack, you're restrained. They do force damage with their bite. They have 2 breath weapon options. The first one is elemental breath. The Great Worm exhales elemental energy in a 300-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 25 Dex save, taking 13 D12 or 84 on average fire damage on a failed save, or half on a successful save. Now, the sapping breath, which is the other option,
God.
The Great Worm exhales gas in a 300-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a 25 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature falls unconscious for a minute. On a successful save, the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the end of the Great Worm's next turn. An unconscious creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself as a success. It also gains the shape change ability like it had before.
If you
attack and wing attack, but here's a fun one too. The mythic action, Shattering Roar. The Great Worm unleashes a magical roar. Each creature in a 120-foot radius sphere centered on the Great Worm,
240-foot diameter.
Yeah, must succeed on a DC 26 con save or take 3d12 or 19 thunder damage and be incapacitated until the end of its next turn. Now here's the fun part. You hit him with the sapping breath first, and anybody who's not already unconscious, which will then take the damage and become incapacitated as well, will have disadvantage on the saving throw.
That's what I'm saying. It's like like, or you could just potentially spam sapping breath. Again, even if they don't fail, even if they succeed on the save the first round, everybody else is already unconscious. And if they're unconscious, well, luckily because it's a con save, even if you're unconscious, you can still try to make the save. So there's no just auto fails, but it's still just like you could just keep knocking them out. You could keep resetting it if they fail to save. Like if they're just unconscious, incapacitated, you can stun lock them. You can literally
keep going back and forth between being unconscious and incapacitated,
or just one. You could keep them either just unconscious or just incapacitated. But like you could literally stun lock.
If you roll right on the recharge,
you could literally just stun lock them, and then finally, if you wanted to, just go crit them, but you wouldn't even need to. Yeah. Like at any point, you wouldn't get your charge back on a 5 or a 6. Your breath back, you just go and crit them, and they're dead anyway. Like,
So there's like these two final things, and I want to know which one you want because they're both ridiculous.
Okay. And I'm assuming you're referring to the true draconic deities, the final.
Oh
The
no,
final two?
the what you can reach after being a great worm, kind of.
Okay. All right.
Because this is ostensibly. Well, is this wait? Oh no, it is them.
Yeah, it's them.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
It's an aspect of them.
They are well, yeah, because that's the only thing they can really. But that they are the true final
dragon form.
They are the true draconic deities, and obviously, I feel like it would only behoove us to end this draconic meta talk episode by talking about the I guess in terms like I said before, the Great-wyrms are like the true pinnacle of draconic kind because they are in terms of
if you're immortal.
That's what I'm saying. But well, because at that point you're not mortal anymore. But these two are the progenitors. These two are the sources. They are the absolute, peak of dragon kind in terms of the fact that they are indeed the gods of the metallics and the chromatics, both Tiamat and Bahamut. And you, my friend, I'm sure, feel free to take Tiamat and I can take Bahamut. Go ahead. Tell us about Tiamat first, our lovely lady Tiamat, who many people will no doubt have kind of interacted with, who you yourself will be, if haven't already, interacted with and encounter in your own campaign, no doubt, at some point.
Yeah, I'm terrified of what that's going to bring.
Well, because I assume your GM, I hope, at least I hope to God, Tiamat specifically, that he will use this aspect.
Well, that's only if we fail.
Well, no, I mean, because you can still technically summon her, but just in a weakened state as well.
I don't want that either.
Yeah.
Should we go over Tiamat then?
Yes, go ahead. Hit us with that Tiamat first.
So
and then we'll hit
this is the aspect of Tiamat. Now, as you know, Tiamat is the 5-headed progenitor of chromatic dragons.
She'll probably get her own episode at some point too.
Maybe a dual threat with Tiamat and Bahamut.
Yeah.
But 23 armor class, 574 hit points. Same speed as before. Decent stats. We got 30 strength, 14 dex, 30 con, 21 intelligence, 20 wisdom, 26 charisma. Same saving throws as always. Their skills are intimidation with a plus 26 and perception with a plus 23. Here are the damage immunities: acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. It can't be blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, poisoned, stunned.
Yeah, no, she cannot be. She's a god. This is an aspect of
true
her
sight and to 120 feet, knows common, draconic, and from her time in the 9 hells, infernal.
Indeed.
I
think she's still there currently, actually, technically.
Yeah, that's where they're summoning her from. Yeah. So they have chromatic wrath, which is the mythic kind of recharge for 500 hit points. 5 legendary resistances, same bite and claw situation. And here it is. We have the chromatic flames, which is her breath weapon. The aspect exhales multicolored flames in a 300-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 27 dex save. On a failed save, the creature takes 11 d12 or 71 damage of a type of the aspect's choosing: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage. This is cool because if the dragon notices that you're taking less damage from certain things, they'll change it.
Or just flip it up on whatever they're feeling at the time. If you have no, I'm gonna do poison this time. Yeah. Oh, I like lightning now. We're gonna acid. Now we're gonna burn you with fire and acid. Like,
the legendary actions are cool. We have attack, so 1 claw or tail attack for 1 action. For 2 points, the aspect makes 1 bite attack. If the attack hits a creature, the target must succeed on a DC 27 wisdom saving throw or become frightened of the aspect until the end of its next turn. Which is good if, one character is doing more damage to you. You can focus them down and they have to roll with disadvantage.
Oh, yeah.
Mythic actions, once it's been hit down to its reset point. So for 2 actions, it can hurl you through Avernus. The aspect targets a creature they're grappling. This creature must succeed on a DC 25 charisma saving throw, or take 44 or 8d10 average of 44 psychic damage, and be banished to Avernus, the first layer of the 9 hells. At the start of the aspect's next turn, the creature reappears in an unoccupied space within 10 feet of the aspect. Or with 3 action points, Chromatic Flare, which is the same thing as the Great-wyrms, but now with more damage.
Yeah.
And it gets to pick which kind of damage. So obviously very powerful. Not like, I wouldn't say crazy compared to the other ones we just looked at.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Still,
like Great-wyrms are godlike as well,
but
like
ridiculously difficult to deal with if you're not careful.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, for good reason. I mean, these are true aspects of true gods. Like, I believe Tiamat at this point is considered like a lesser deity.
No, Tiamat's a full-blown deity, my guy.
Well, no. Because within full-blown deity, there are tiers. There's lesser, like intermediary, and then greater deities. I think on that tier, she's technically at this point lesser. I think she used to be higher, but because she's kind of like subservient to Asmodeus now, she's lesser now. She's not quite where she was before, and she's lost a lot of power. And so I think she's technically, and I think that's kind of one of the basis of Tyranny of Dragons / Wrath of the Dragon Queen or whatever. Because she's not as powerful as she used to be. I think Bahamut is intermediary, though.
I will say this. These aspects are exactly what we're calling them, aspects. This is not the god itself.
No, because the god itself can't like actually operate on the same material plane of existence in that same way. Like,
that's not true.
I mean, it is, because again, if they did, other gods would start trying to get it. Like their mere presence would begin to like.
The idea, though, is for example, with the aspect of Tiamat's description, Tiamat can send her aspect to manifest in the material plane. A follower with enough power and anger, and with a horde worthy of ancient dragons, can sacrifice the aspect to unleash the wrath of the Dragon Queen upon the material plane.
Yeah, so
which this isn't what we're taught. This is just the aspect.
No. This isn't her. Yeah, these are, again. Let's be that's kind of the point, right? To be fair, when you reach a state of like true divinity, godship in like D&D,
if they show up on the material plane,
don't have a stat block.
No,
like,
it'll fall apart.
That's what I'm saying. It's like deities can't just simply go into the material plane willy-nilly. Otherwise, they will begin to truly unravel the whole thing. Like, if they were to show in their true forms, most of the time that would cause all kinds of ridiculous. So it requires very specific rituals and very specific like objectives and goals to be met for them to even begin to try to do that, because they can't just like do it normally. That's why they send aspects who are, even though they are ridiculously powerful and still they would be considered probably of like demigod status, although it also depends on the level of the deity. So for instance, if like Tiamat is a lesser deity, if she like sends an aspect, it would probably be closer to like demigod or even like pseudo god status, like basically akin to a Great-wyrm, who a Great-wyrm I wouldn't say is like, they're not considered true deities, but they're like demigods at the very like least. Like they're like, I would say they would be even more powerful than like Archfey, for instance. Like I think Archfey are like
some of them.
Archfey are considered pseudo gods. And maybe technically I think because Asmodeus is a weird one. Asmodeus is like he's a pseudo god, but also a devil, but also maybe a demigod. Like I don't know. It's hard to say. Again, it's hard to say of like what would be considered pseudo / demi, or if those are two of the same things. Either way, for the final entry into our stint into the draconic pantheon, or rather just the draconic race, I should say, overall, the draconic species, the absolute pinnacle of the metallics, their lord in shining platinum, the platinum dragon himself, Bahamut, or at least the aspect of him. He is a gargantuan dragon, metallic, lawful good, armor class 23, hit points of 585, so the largest of all of them. He has the most health of all of them. 60-foot 60-foot walking, burrow, swim speed, and 120 feet fly. He's got 30 strength, 18 dex, 29 con, 25 intelligence, 28 wisdom, and 30 charisma. He has basically almost all of the saving throws except for strength and dex. He's got insight, perception, persuasion for his skills, and immunity to acid, cold, fire, lightning, radiant, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. He's immune to charm, deafen, frightened, paralyzed, and stunned condition. So no stun locking him. He's got true sight, 220 feet. He has 5, and I believe so does Tiamat. They both have 5 legendary resistances instead of 4, which is even more freaking redonkulous. He's got his bite and claw and tail attacks, and he's got, like all metallics, 2 separate breath weapons. His exulting breath, which the aspect exhales the restoring winds of Mount Celestia in a 300-foot cone. Each creature in that area of the aspect's choice regains 13 D10 or 71 hit points on average. And each creature in that area of the aspect choice that has been dead for no longer than 1 hour is restored to life with all their hit points. Oh my God. That is an ability worthy of a god. And I believe, again, Bahamut is technically an intermediary god at this point. So he's technically, I think, higher than Tiamat, which also makes sense with he can literally just be like, yo, you went in here, you literally just killed all of these people. I just brought all of them freaking back. Get screwed. Get pranked, chump. It's ridiculous. Noob, bro. And his second breath weapon is going to be Platinum Breath. The aspect exhales radiant platinum flames in a 300-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 26 dex save, taking 12 D10 or 66 radiant damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. So again, honestly, his exulting breath, in my opinion, is even way more badass than his platinum breath. His platinum breath is kind of mid. It's kind of like, yeah, whatever. But his exulting breath, dude, you would like no one would die. Like, and it's again of his choice. Like, he could just constantly revive all of his troops. Like, if he's sitting here like bolstering an army that's going forth, even if Tiamat just breathed her breath on all of them, he'd just be like, get screwed, shitter, and like heals them and brings them all back to life immediately as they slowly whittle down her own forces, and eventually she just gets completely overrun by sheer numbers alone. He still has a shape change ability, so he can magically assume the form of any humanoid or beast while retaining his game statistics other than his size. Same as basically like the gems or the deep dragon and stuff. For his legendary actions, he gets his one attack or one claw or tail attack, but he also gets furious bite as well. And finally, for his mythic state, his platinum brilliance. If the aspect be reduced to 0 hit points, his current hit point total resets to, count them, 500. 500 buckaroos of hit points right back up. And if the party should be able to, for whatever reason, they'd be stupid to fight him. But if they did, and they were able to beat him afterwards, you would be awarded with an extra 155,000 XP for a total of 310,000 XP. And gain access to his Celestial Shield and Celestial Lance's mythic actions. Now, from his Platinum Brilliance, Bahamut is able to activate Celestial Shield and Celestial Lance. Celestial Shield costing 2 actions, like Furious Bite. The aspect manifests 7 spectral ancient gold dragons around himself that protect him. He gains 77 temporary hit points until the start of his next turn. So let's just talk about that one first, just real quick.
Oh, you mean the fact that you have to hit a damage check every turn to kill him?
I mean, every round. Here's the thing. So just going off of what is written here, it doesn't specifically say that the dragons go away at the end of his next turn. It does say he gains 77 temporary hit points.
They're not actual dragons.
They're not, but they're spectral ancient gold dragon, meaning
I think it's just an effect. I'm pretty sure it's just an effect. It just gives him temp HP.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like, depending on like what,
because then it would give you statistics for the dragons if you were summoning them to attack.
Okay, I think I would agree on that. I think you're right. Maybe it's just flavor text.
It is
like
flavor
dragons.
text.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, you literally able to summon 7 ancient
No.
dragons.
You just put a damage check on your encounter where
I
if they
mean-
don't hit you for 77 hit points every turn, you don't lose HP. You just do that every turn because
That's
it's
true.
only 2.
It's only 2. Because again, there is a legitimate lore reason for why it could be 7 ancient gold dragons, but we'll leave that for a different time. And we'll go on to the last ability, which is Celestial Lances. At the cost of 3 legendary actions, the aspect conjures 4 enormous lances of magical force that plummet to the ground at 4 different points he can see within 150 feet of him and then disappear. Each creature in a 20-foot radius, 100-foot high cylinder centered on each point must succeed on a DC 27 dex check, or dex save, excuse me, or take 7d6 or 24 on average force damage. A creature in the area of more than 1 lance is affected only once. So that's like literally just a less powerful meteor swarm ability. Like,
but still ridiculous.
That. All right. Well, there you go, you guys. That in essence is the full totality, so to speak, of the power and evolution and progression and growth of all of what might be considered the true dragons, along with, along with, like, a couple of dragonkin faux dragons, like, sprinkled in there, here and there.
Now, my friend Adam, do you have any
yes, my friend Sammy.
dragon adjacent monsters that you like? Because, like, for example, I have one
that I've
always wanted to meet in a campaign, and I never have.
I have one that does come to mind that I like a lot. It's also, again, Feywild-esque.
Oh, see, mine isn't, so that's good. We picked a different one.
Okay, there you go. So then you all might have heard of it. It is a very actually popular monster or creature that actually initially, I think, originally came from a lovely little tale known as Alice in Wonderland. And it is known as the Jabberwocky, or the Jabberwock. Let me see where. There it is, the Jabberwock. This is indeed a dragon of huge size, typically chaotic evil, as you all I love the depiction that they kind of had for it in the movie Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp. It has an armor class of 18, a 115 hit points, a walking speed of 30 feet, climbing speed of 30, a swim speed of 30, and a fly of 60. A strength of 20, a dex of 12, a con of 20, a 4 in intelligence, a 7 in wisdom, and 11 in charisma. So, like, this particular creature, unlike kind of the creature I think in Alice in Wonderland, like, it is very much like dumber. It is not a smart or intelligent. It is very much more of a beast overall, but still quite a legendary one. Because it has a very interesting, cool connection to an object, or rather a weapon, that goes by the name of the Vorpal Sword. Specifically for its saving throws, it has literally proficiency in all of them. Every saving throw it has proficiency in. Strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. It only has perception for its skills. It has a vulnerability, which is a very rare trait indeed for most monsters, but it has vulnerabilities to slashing damage from a Vorpal Sword, which I love. It's great. It's literally, again, canonical and in conjunction with the Alice in Wonderland storyline, as well as, all that stuff. It has immunity to poison damage, as well as immunity to the charmed, frightened, and poison conditions, and true sight to 120 feet. It has a trait known as Confusing Burble. The Jabberwock burbles to itself unless it is incapacitated. Any creature that starts a turn within 30 feet of the Jabberwock and is able to hear its burbling must make a DC 18 Charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the creature can't take reaction until the start of its next turn, and it rolls a d4 to determine what it does during its current turn. On a 1 to 2, the creature does nothing. On a 3, the creature does nothing except use all its movement to move in a random direction. And on a 4, the creature either makes 1 melee attack against a random creature it can see, or does nothing if no visible creature is within reach. So this ostensibly just kind of, in a way, incapacitates.
It's confusion.
A character. It literally is the spell Confusion with a little less things that it can maybe do or have them do overall. It also has 3 legendary resistances, as well as one of a lovely trait that I feel is underrated. I feel like a lot of more monsters should have it, and that is regeneration. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Jabberwock can regain 10 hit points at the start of its turn. However, if the Jabberwock takes slashing damage, this trait doesn't function at the start of its next turn. Jabberwock dies only if it starts a turn with 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. So if you deal slashing damage, in my opinion, I would usually probably limit that to like, it has to be slashing damage like against maybe like its neck, or like from either a Vorpal sword, or maybe like a sword coated in like mithril or something magical, kind of like that. Like it has to be like a specific material, is what I would say. It also has Uncanny Tracker. The Jabberwock can unerringly track any creature it has wounded in the last 24 hours and knows the distance and direction to its quarry as long as the two of them are on the same plane of existence. You cannot escape it as long as you're on the same plane. It knows exactly, and it can move at 60 feet per fly speed. Even with this regeneration, even though it specifically says that the Jabberwock has to take slashing damage, it can just fly away from you. Most range attacks don't deal slashing damage. So as long as it stays flying in the air and away from any would-be melee attackers with axes or swords, it can just regenerate in ad nauseum. It has, for its attacks, it has multi-attack. Jabberwock makes 2 rend attacks, and those essentially, they have plus into hit. They have a 10-foot reach, and they will deal 21 slashing damage on average, 3d10 plus 5 total. There's a tail attack, same thing. It has a reach of 15 feet instead, which I think a lot of the other dragons do as well, which is great. It also has what is known, in kind of replacing of a breath weapon, it has what's known as Fiery Gaze. Unless it is blinded, the Jabberwock emits a 120-foot long, 5-foot wide line of fire from its eyes. Each creature in that line must make a DC 18 dex save, taking 31 points on average, or 78 fire damage on a failed save, or half as much on a success. This thing is like super cool. It's super like flavorful again. Like I love that it's been used from like kind of like more famous, like, you know, fiction and other things like from Alice in Wonderland. I love that they put in a connection to like the Vorpal sword. They gave it a cool little like passive ability, and it's confusing burble, a great tracking, regeneration. This is like it is in all essence, like it is a terrifying nightmare creature from the Feywild, and I love it. What is the one that you wanted to kind of showcase before we get on out of here, Sammy?
Well, mine was a dragon.
Oh,
and
yes,
it meant
we did actually miss the one other thing, the Shadow Dragon. I'm not sure if you're referring to that, but we did forget to kind of talk more in essence about that. So
this is a different one.
Yeah, say your thing. But I think I know which one you're choosing.
Well, it got captured by some unfortunate people,
by some unfortunate creatures, maybe native to the Underdark a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the Elderbrain Dragon.
Yes, the Elderbrain Dragon. Oh my god, that thing!
I love it so much. So if you're familiar with Mind Flayers and the Illithid Society, they're a hive mind that has an Elderbrain. Now, the Elderbrain is kind of what connects all of them. It can't really be moved very easily, and what happens is when the Elderbrain is stuck somewhere, the colony stays there. So this is a really cool way to make Mind Flayers a very threatening mobile force of people, because what happens is they capture a dragon, and then they leave it, and they subdue it, and the Elderbrain assimilates itself to the dragon. So now you have a mobile, super powerful Elderbrain to serve as a general, ostensibly free from the confines of its brine pool. So this is now considered a gargantuan aberration with an armor class of 17, 350 hit points, a walking speed of 40 feet. It has a flying speed of 80, but now it can hover as opposed to normal flying.
Psychicness, people, psionics.
It has 27 strength, 13 dex, 25 con, 21 intelligence, 19 wisdom, and 24 charisma. It has proficiency in con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, a +2 arcana, insight, and perception. It's immune to psychic damage. It's immune to being charmed and frightened. Has blind sight up to 120 feet. It knows deep speech, draconic, and it can telepathically communicate out to 5 miles. It has 4 legendary resistances, is considered a siege monster, and doesn't require air or sleep. It has multi-attack. The dragon makes 1 bite attack, 2 claw attacks, and 1 tentacle attack. That's right, 4 attacks. So the bites now do extra psychic damage. The claw.
I mean, that's not even the worst part, bro. The breath.
Yeah, I know.
The breath.
I'm not even there yet. The claw
breath is just oh my god.
10-foot reach. It
It's
has
not
a
even breath anymore.
tentacle attack. So it's a
Yeah, of course it
15
does.
plus 15 to hit with a reach of 15. It does psychic damage, and if the target is huge or smaller, it's grappled. The dragon can have up to 4 targets grappled at a time.
Yeah, because we couldn't leave off this episode without getting a little hentai.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit of tentacle play.
A little bit of tentacle play. Yeah.
It also now has
fans,
it has tadpole brine breath, is what it's called. The dragon exhales brine in an 120-foot line. It's a 120-foot line that is 15 feet wide. That's not really a line anymore, is it?
No, well, it is. It's a pillar. It's pillar.
Each creature in that area must make a DC 22 con saving throw, taking 55, 10d10, 55 on average, psychic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful save. On a success or failure, if the creature isn't a construct or an undead, it becomes infested with illithid tadpoles.
Yep.
While infested, the creature takes 3d10 or 60 on average psychic damage at the start of each of its turns. The creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself after it succeeds on 3 of these saves. If the creature is targeted by magic that ends a curse or restores 40 hit points or more, the tadpoles infesting the creature are killed instantly and the effect on the creature ends. If a human is reduced to 0 hit points while infested, the creature is stable, but remains unconscious for 6d12 hours. When the period of unconsciousness ends, the creature transforms into a mind flayer. With all of its hit points. Casting a wish spell on the unconscious creature rids it of the infestation and prevents it from turning into a mind flayer. It has legendary actions. It has 3, for 1, it can make a tentacle attack, which is cool. It can keep grabbing people. And for 2 points, the dragon targets a creature it is grappling. The target's concentration on a spell it has cast or an ability it is maintaining ends, and the target takes 3d12 psychic damage or 19 on average. See, if I was DMing an Illithid campaign or an Underdark campaign...
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? 100%.
All I would do... See, I wouldn't even... This dragon wouldn't even attack them. All it would do is just do flybys with the...
Just literally throw up on you. Just vomit. You just vomit tadpoles and then leave.
Because...
Why would it do anything else?
Because if you're not careful, half your party's going to go on...
Just turn to Mind Flayer. You just turn into Mind Flayers. It's insane. How much you want to bet in the Baldur's Gate 3 game coming out that we're going to have to encounter something like this? I bet you.
I don't know.
I bet you so much.
If they do it correctly, you should encounter one of these, but
this is just insane, bro.
I mean, you just look at the character art for it is fucking awesome.
I know, it's awesome, but it's so nasty and like
dude, it's not nasty, bro. It's fucking cool.
It's nasty as shit, dude.
Nah, dude, it's awesome.
Some gross shit, bro, but it's so cool too. Like I like it, but it's freaking nasty. And finally we'll end this off since we talked about the Elder Brain Dragon. We'll hit it off. We said before we talk about the Shadow Dragon. And since again, I think this kind of is nice and applicable because honestly, Sam, I would be very interested to see what a Shadow Great-wyrm could be. And so technically speaking, we only do have the stat block of the young red Shadow Dragon to kind of give us an idea. But overall, not much about them changes except for a couple of very specific things. Their stats and everything are the same, but there are certain like stuff that kind of switches. So you'll have to kind of play a little bit of theater of the mind here with us as we kind of go into this. So essentially, what it means when a dragon becomes kind of corrupted and suffused with the power of the Shadowfell. Compared to the normal red dragon, all of its statistics all kind of remain the same in terms of its like attributes, its saves, its skills, except for it gets an increase to stealth. Interestingly enough, you kind of double your proficiency bonus for it, as a matter of fact. So it's expert in stealth. It gains specifically resistance to necrotic damage, as well as an immunity to whatever type that it had before. It still has the same senses and all that. However, it gets a couple of interesting new features. Living Shadow. While in dim light or darkness, the dragon has resistance to damage that isn't force, psychic, or radiant. So this creature just gains resistance to all damage that except for force, psychic, or radiant while it is in dim light or darkness, which due to some other things, there's no reason it wouldn't be unless you have some spell or something that can make it in light.
Yeah.
The next ability is Shadow Stealth. While in dim light or darkness, the dragon can take the hide action as a bonus action. So he can just stay hidden. And again, with that +8 to stealth, gonna be much more as a higher or older dragon, let me tell you. It's gonna be super hard to find this thing at any point. And finally, it does have, however, a particular detrimental feature, which is sunlight sensitivity. While in sunlight, the dragon has disadvantage on attack rolls as well as on wisdom perception checks that rely on sight. So that is, again, one bit of like caveat that I like, that is, as a shadow dragon, if you are able to put it specifically in sunlight, not just any light, but sunlight, you can give it a bit of a detrimental ability. However, its last feature that does replace something rather important would be its breath weapon.
And its bite.
And its bite, which is, I mean, still necrotic damage. It's basically the same, though, as like if it was fire damage, though. But overall, Shadow Breath. The dragon exhales shadowy fire and, you know, basically replaces statistics for whatever it might be. At young dragon, it's going to be 30 feet. At adult, it'll be like, you know, 60. And then at ancient,
90.
it's 90 to 300 or whatever. Yeah. But basically, the area, it does increase its DC by a little bit, though, however. Because each creature in the area must make a DC 18, whereas for a normal dragon, it would be a DC 17. Dex save, taking 56 or 16d6 necrotic damage on a failed save. So the damage is the same, however.
It scales depending on how old the dragon is. Basically, indeed. Take all the numbers from that dragon, replace it with necrotic, change the range and everything, and then you also change the fact that it has a new effect.
It does. A humanoid reduced to 0 hit points by this damage dies outright, and an undead shadow rises from its corpse and acts immediately after the dragon in the initiative count, and the shadow is under the dragon's control. So you don't get death saves if you die from this black fire or black whatever. You are just gone. And a shade rises from your corpse.
Which means, if I'm not mistaken, you can't be revived unless it's through like some of the bigger.
Unless it's like a wish spell.
No, I think you probably get away with like the
resurrection.
True resurrection stuff.
Yeah, well,
like
it's still a 9th level spell.
Yeah.
And even more, well, because even then, I don't know. Like, unless it's a wish spell,
so I would argue
know if true resurrection works. Because I would say like it's your soul is currently being like, I think
you'd have to kill the shadow.
Yeah, you have to at least kill the shade first before you could revive your friend.
That's wild.
Yeah, that is and again, just imagine this. Like, again, I would say once more, some of its statistics are slightly higher than its normal counterpart. And so I would say, again, if it was like an ancient shadow dragon or God forbid, a great worm shadow dragon, I would say like the abilities of it might be more akin or closer to even like an aspect of Tiamat or Bahamut, even.
Yeah, I would say shadow dragons are wild.
Yeah, no, and they're super dangerous and deadly. Again, specifically because of their shadow breath, but then also even just their living shadow and shadow stealth abilities. Like that alone makes them even more powerful than most of the other dragons all around, because there's no reason for them to. I would literally give them the spell darkness. Like, there's no reason why they wouldn't have it, especially at higher levels. Like, they would just be able to cast darkness and have that to just, and because they could see, they have blind sight within 30 feet, which is not quite the full extent of the whatever. But even then, it's like at higher levels, you have either I would say they just get blind sight anyway, or they can cast it while still being able to see through it. Like a shadow
it literally
sorcerer
says
can.
If you want to give it dark, it could do darkness, fog cloud, misty step, non-detection as like variant spells if you want to have it. It's the fact of the matter is this can happen to any dragon, because the whole way that they're made is that they just get sucked in.
Because dragons are so innately like elves, they're so innately attuned to the magics of whatever environment they're in that if they're stuck again in the Feywild or the Shadowfell, this is what can occur.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I think that's it, y'all. I think we covered.
I think that's all the dragons.
I think that's all the at least all the fun ones that we want to talk about. You know, like and all the like because obviously we didn't go into super in depth from all of them, but you know because they're all pretty comparable to one another to a certain extent, even across the ages that they have. And especially again towards the end of their evolution, like the gems and the chromatics and the metallics and their great worm forms, you know, like they've got multiple different aspects to them that make them cool and diverse and different, but still all equally as deadly and powerful for different reasons overall. Yeah, man, that's and that's what you want from your dragons.
And,
like,
and I'd urge people that want to use dragons, look under the tooltips for the stat blocks. Look at what kind of personalities these things have and play off of that. Because if all these things were monsters with a breath weapon, that's cool and all, but then there's no point to have so many of them.
No, if they're all just echoes of one another. You know what
play
I mean?
Play into their personalities, use that to your advantage, use that to kind of come up with the scenario as to why the dragons are doing what they're doing, where they are, how your party meets them, how they meet your party, depending on if they're an enemy,
how they interact with your party. I would even say too, like we just said, dragons, like elves, they are so utterly attuned to whatever environment they are. You can make all kind. I mean, technically speaking, there are even more versions of dragons. You know, there are like orange dragons, purple dragons. There are like stone dragons. There are like iron dragons, steel dragons. There are like they don't have specific books and stat blocks for them as of yet, though they might be incorporating them kind of maybe later on. But yeah, even more so, go crazy with it. Your imagination is your only limit when it comes to dragons, which is the best thing because obviously this game is called Dungeons and Dragons. You could make all kinds of different dragons as you want that you could possibly think of, which is the cool thing about them. You know what I mean? These things are awesome and amazing for a reason. I mean, there's a reason why even in real life, dragons are such a cultural phenomenon in almost every culture and race and place across the world. Like they have always been and always will be revered and feared as such incredible, amazing creatures. And I guess me and Sam's hope is that you are able to depict them as such in whatever game or campaign that you choose to put them in. But hey, as always, thank you guys for coming along with us. As always, as we kind of delved into this particular topic that is so near and dear, I think, to everybody's hearts. I mean, who doesn't love a freaking dragon? Come on now, who doesn't love dragons? But as always, please do like, comment, talk, share, talk about the channel and video. Leave down in the comments below like some of your favorite dragons or dragon types, dragonkin, maybe some ideas for a dragon that you'd like to have to share. We'd love to hear it. And yeah, love you guys. We'll see y'all later in the next one. All right, bye.
All right.